What up, what up? It's episode 2 of Hidden Machines, breakdown, analysis, discussion, and general good time centered around Quantum Break.
You could say it's our quantum breakdown.
I will not do that. Last time around, if you didn't catch it, we talked about Act 1, the first Junction, and also the first episode of the show, Quantum Break. And when we left off, William Joyce is fucking dead, presumably.
Crushed.
Jack Joyce had been escorted off the scene by Beth Wilder. Her and Liam Burke were held up at gunpoint by Monarch agents as Jack slipped out the back door. And we're learning a bit more about the breakdown of time and a little bit more about where Paul Serene and Monarch fits into everything that's going on here. And we discussed last time our choices for the first Junction. I chose Hardline, so they, you know, in the first episode of the show, it starts with basically with Amy getting shot in the fucking head.
Jesus.
And it was brutal.
Yeah, thank God.
And you guys picked PR?
Yeah. We've talked about it a little bit off camera. I don't know every single decision you guys made, but it seems like the experiences that you guys had in this game were much more distressing than the choices that I made. I think I made mostly all the like try to make everything happy choices. Like Amy Ferrero, boom.
Right. Well, I also chose PR. I started out wanting to do the let's try to keep everything working well kind of choice, and then after that I was like, no, I'm just gonna go. This could be fun. This might be interesting. So I would go with kind of the evil choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't like picking the evil choices. I only did it because this, not my first playthrough, so I was like, oh, I'll just pick the other choices because I didn't before. And yeah, very disturbing. I didn't expect that level of violence from the show.
Yeah, especially later on.
Yes.
Yeah. So because the kind of tone of it is, it's like, it is kind of like a sci-fi or USA show. It's like, yeah, they're shooting people, but they don't like, it's not like heads
They don't fucking execute people.
So to see that, it was like, whoa, Jesus.
It's usually like gunfight, where it's like that harmless sort of gunfight you see on TV.
And they hit the ground, and you're like, maybe they're dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're downed.
There's no
It doesn't matter. Look, they're out. They got a 2-minute cooldown.
Respawn.
Put their hand up to show that they're out.
So when Act 2 opens up, and I did mention this before, I didn't write down the names of the acts. There are no names to the acts. They're just, it's Act 2. And then Act 2 has 4 parts, and all the parts kind of have titles, but they're just like industrial area. Like, rather than having a...
What goes around. Just kind of like...
Yeah, they don't have titles, but they all do have timestamps, which I picked up on, but didn't really like think about any deeper.
I tried to, but I was juggling so many balls.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to... I had a hard time keeping track, but I noticed every time you kind of started a new act, it would be like 15 hours after, or 3 hours after the
time fracture.
Yeah, the fracture.
It's kind of cool. Gives you because a lot of times in games and media, like time's very fluid in that regard. They'll just be like, oh, it's been 3 months since that happened. You're like, that happened seemingly
and especially
in the same day.
In this game, because time's so ambiguous, kind of, it's nice to kind of have it's like halfway through the game, it's like, oh, this really only has been like half a day since this happened. It's like having that kind of realization that this is all just happening very quickly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It reminded me of 24. Did you guys ever watch that show?
I never did. I remember.
I've only seen it a couple times.
Jack Bauer.
Maybe. I don't even know if I even watched the whole episode, but the sort of gimmick in the show is that it happens in real time, essentially, and the clock's ticking down over the course of 24 hours.
We have to save the president, Jack. Jack Bauer.
Jack Joyce, you have to save the president.
And that was actually the original plot of the game, was Jack Joyce did have to save the president, but they thought it was kind of like, they just didn't want to get political.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this game's not political.
Anyway, when you guys start this next chapter, you're in an industrial area. You've like kind of gone out the back door, that warehouse where Beth pulled you up to, and you're trying to just get away, but also you're like, what the fuck? He killed my brother. I gotta find him.
Yeah.
So
my brother.
you wind up in like a little security booth and you see that they're having like a Zoom call between Paul Serene and all the Monarch staff. And they're like, do you want to go forward with the gala tonight? There's supposed to be this big like Monarch party. I think they're going to be talking about, they're
There's
Their
going to be
mission statement, their plan for the future.
yeah, they're trying to do a public-facing sort of PR move with this gala event that's happening on the island. I'm assuming it's the same island where Jeffrey Epstein did his deeds.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best place to have a gala. You know?
very
Anything goes. You know,
Yeah.
isolated. Yeah.
Anything goes. So
That's from Fallout.
it's just from time.
It's only from Fallout.
Just Fallout.
Which one?
3.
Oh, I don't remember it in there. That's funny.
I wouldn't know it if it wasn't from Fallout.
Rockefeller.
I'm not.
I
Yep.
don't know the fucking words.
I
So
was gonna make up some, but I decided not to.
I think it was when Rockefeller rocked that feller, and it's talking like, well,
Anything.
you're being in the earpiece, or not in the earpiece actually yet. You're having like radio communication of some sort with Amy.
No, Beth.
Not yet.
Amy.
Amy's kind of guiding you at first, before you make contact with Beth.
Okay.
Is she?
That's not what my brain remembers, but
I remember hearing her. I thought you could hear her, but I don't remember being guided by her.
Well, she at least I should say I was guided by Nick. So in one of the first like sort of time puzzles I encountered, you're in like a warehouse trying to get to where you're going. And there's like the security booth area. It's like blocked, and you have to like reverse time to like change things around so you can clear this
scaffolding.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're just, for me, as you're going through that, you're just talking to yourself.
Oh.
Because Amy's still technically being held captive.
yeah.
Amy's still, you find Amy in a moment
Yeah.
as you come up.
Okay.
And she's still like tied, she's being left, she's in a room, I think still with Hatch.
Right,
Or with
right,
a couple
right, right.
Monarch agents.
There's definitely
That's
some guys.
exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're just by ourselves. So we were solo, but you had.
Yes. You
your
had
buddy-
Nick in your ear.
Nick was talking to me somehow. I don't remember exactly how he was communicating. I think that we found him in a similar spot.
He was just far away, just yelling.
But he was somehow like, oh yeah, there's like, this like, I'm like, he was kind of like tapped into their systems and being like, I think you gotta go this way. There's like a blinking box over here you gotta go into or something.
Was that in that little room where I was talking about? You have to jump into the building right next to the train tracks. This is right after
Yeah.
this. Yeah. Okay. At that point, we had Amy, didn't we?
Yeah, you get Amy right after so there's the first kind of like where you have to reverse time to rebuild that thing so you can cross
Yeah.
and then drop down into what you said, the little security booth.
Yeah.
You find Amy right after that, to my memory.
What the fuck?
Well,
I think my
look, we
memory's
might be
bad.
wrong. Either way,
I just replayed this last night, before I started playing Hunt Showdown with Andrew.
Game's sick.
It's sick.
First impressions coming out way the fuck before this video comes out.
yeah, likely.
Check it out.
You also do, as you're going through, you find an earpiece in your pocket, starts ringing.
Yes.
And Beth is on the other line. And she's like, Jack, you gotta trust me. We need to fix the time fracture. Will said something about the countermeasure. Like, we gotta figure that out. Because no one really knows what the fuck is going on yet besides Paul.
No.
Yeah.
And Monarch. And not even all of Monarch. The information is very fractured.
No.
So Beth is trying to guide Jack one way, and Jack's like, she's like, oh, well, he's going to be at the dry docks. You want to stay away from there. And he's like, dry docks, got it. I'm going to go there and fucking kill him.
Yeah. That's what he takes
On
out of
it.
it.
So he's just determined to get there. And this is basically the first part, is like the industrial area, which is where the game really kind of picks up, I think. Like the first act, I started this game and I played that first act and I was like, I don't know if I'm in for this. This is too much.
Yeah.
Like the very first time I picked it up. And I went back in, I played it again, and as soon as I got into the second act, I was like, oh, okay. This is pretty good. I just like, I don't know. Because I had no idea if, Remedy made quality games.
That's fair.
It was just like, man, this game is asking a lot of me, to like commit to all these collectibles, a TV show, and I just wasn't sure if it was going to be quality.
And
Yeah.
for sure, I can imagine being that.
Yeah, the first act is definitely like kind of slow going. It's just a lot of dialogue, a lot of you walking.
I kind of
waiting.
reverse. The first time I was like, this is so cool. I was really open to it. In the second part, I was just like, what? I was like, what?
Andrew thought there was 2 pulsarines.
I thought there was 2 pulsarines. I'm sure there's a theory that supports that.
Yeah, you could put it out there right now.
Yeah, I'm not going to be the one. I don't know.
One has different clothes.
He has different clothes.
One Paul has a vest and he's angry.
He talks angry. The other one, he's wearing a nice jacket. He's a nice guy.
He has mood swings. I mean, I don't have a ton to say about this other than I think all the fucking battles in the warehouse are fun. Like, this is where I was like, oh, the gunplay is, like, pretty satisfying in this game.
This is where I had in my notes for the first time where I was like, the combat is very engaging. You have to.
I was getting my ass rocked.
It reminded me of Control right away in this one because it is kind of, you do have to keep moving. You know what I mean? Even though there's a cover system, I remember in Control it was like you couldn't stay in one area for very long.
Yeah.
Or you just get bombarded. You kind of had to keep moving around. And this is when I started really utilizing the time dodge. But the first time I utilized the time dodge, I went straight into cover directly in front of me. And Jack literally goes, oh! Really? You'll hit it, and you just, because I just fucking darted right into the fucking wall. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah,
but the combat was super engaging.
I was getting my ass rocked like probably halfway through this this section, this part, and that's when I messaged you guys. I'm like, is this combat ass or am I just ass? And
you did say that. I was like, it's not easy.
Yeah,
and we were all like, you kind of have to rely heavily on your abilities at first. At first, at least, because you kind of get a better flow and feel for it as you continue through the game. And like, I got better at just doing one dodge, slow time, and then I could take out like 3 guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The most fucking second most badass thing that you can do in this game is when you aim after you do the time dodge and it slows time. Badass. I love that so much.
It's also, we did just get done playing Max Payne.
Yeah. So like, I still had that energy. And it kind of, I remember there was a lot of aim assist, similar to how there kind of was in Max 3, but like, man, it just makes for a better experience, if I'm being honest. Like,
yeah, especially when you're playing with
I don't want to sound like
controller.
Yeah, exactly. Did you play with a mouse and keyboard, Matt, or did you play
No, I played controller.
controller? Yeah, same here.
Because it's a console game.
Yeah. So it just felt normal
Yeah.
on the controller. You know what I mean? Sometimes some games you can tell that they were like maybe optimized for mouse and keyboard or something, but it's like this just felt right. There wasn't too many. Sometimes there's too many things. You know what I mean?
You can tell if there's like like because they're used to like, oh, there's like 7 keys that you have access to. Like playing the first couple of Max Payne games, they weren't clunky. It was just like, oh my god, I have 8 weapons.
Oh, I played those on mouse and keyboard.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
They don't have controller support.
Right. I'll just give you an example of a game that has like tons of
hotkey
keys,
stuff. I just went in and looked at the wiki just to freshen myself up a little bit. It does seem like Amy guides you toward the warehouse areas. You know, she like shows you the security gate and stuff after you rescue her.
Yes,
you know, and whereas Nick, he has a whole different way that he does stuff with you.
How does he communicate?
I'm not sure exactly. He's in a little area where he's able to talk to you somehow.
Okay.
I don't know.
Probably through like loudspeakers or something in the warehouse areas. You know what I mean? Because you hear a few things like announcements. You hear them like interrogating Amy before you find Amy. You know what I mean?
He floats up into the air. His head goes back. He glows kind of red, and he starts whispering things.
The wiki just says he stays behind and tells Jack he will guide him through to the dry docks. But either way,
Jack's got a Bluetooth in each ear.
Yeah.
One's got Nick yelling at him, and the other one's got Beth, and he's just
right, because I don't think you contact Beth until until a bit later on.
Because you find it in your pocket. You don't even
right.
know
It's like ringing. You're like, what the hell is that? So that's something I wanted to bring up. Mm-hmm. Any idea how that got into his pocket?
So this is a little bit later game from when you go back to the library, but because I don't remember if you see it in the actual in this part of the game. But Beth escorts you to the van, kind of. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I imagine at some point she just fucking.
Just slipped it on you.
I mean, yeah.
I think,
watch your step there, bud.
Did you touch my nipple? Don't worry about it. Let's go.
Yeah.
I got really high nips. Yeah, that's the only thing I can come up with.
Me too. Yeah.
I feel too.
I was like, is that a time
We were
thing?
hoping
Did
that
he
there was
somehow
something
like?
deeper? We realized.
I know. I don't think we. Maybe we saw her.
Yeah, I
doing
don't
that.
know.
I don't think
Well,
any
we
other.
know that she had you in the van alone. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
there's
We
no
know that for
way-
a fact.
Right, there was a little 7 minutes in heaven kind of action going
I
on.
mean, you were asleep. Who knows what happened?
Yeah, it's
you know?
crazy.
It's not what I meant.
There's no way it was other characters that we.
No, I didn't think it was like a villain. I knew it was either Jack or Beth who put it on him, but maybe it was like Jack like put it in his own jacket from the future somehow. Like
I think that would have. What's your mug say?
since I've used all my sick days, I'm calling in dead. If you want to know more about it, you can check out my show Mean Muggin', where I cover this mug and I give it a full review.
Okay, I would like to know more. I think I will check
How's
that
it drink?
It's a very high-rated mug. Again, if you want to know my exact thoughts about the mug, its construction, the design, its sippability, and all that stuff, check out my show Mean Muggin' on YouTube.
I have one complaint about it though. It's like it's great that the print is on the user side, but the people around you can't see it as well.
You're
It's all
saying the
about
user
her.
side as if left-handed people don't exist.
I'm a right-handed person
Oh,
who
that's right.
holds my mugs with my left hand.
It should be double printed then, to get a maximum score.
I think it might have a little too much going on by then, and that might have dropped down the overall rating.
potentially.
Anyways, that's Mean Muggin'. This
Yeah.
is I've played.
That was just a little sample.
So I'm going to cut you off and just say, damn, this game is good. No, Jack is you. That's basically the first act. Is they tell you don't go there, and Jack's like, I'm going there. They being Beth. You continue toward the dry docks, and you get to what they're calling Ground Zero, and you find that you've actually stumbled upon William's old lab, which is in the midst of like an enormous time stutter, and you're able to like see like visions of Beth like holding the countermeasure, and like her and Paul having like a gun battle, and
Yep.
you're able to see William working on the countermeasure, and you're like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah, you're effectively just seeing like all stages of time in this area.
yeah. And so like Nick tells you over the radio in my playthrough, he's like, oh, you're heading toward what they're calling like a storage facility for Myers Joyce particles, and you're like, oh, that's what William.
That's my name.
Yeah, that's my brother. And man, I don't know. I think you especially would really get a kick out of Nick's writing. Nick is basically like a super stoned. I don't know if you guys know the Best of Weekend Web cartoon series that was on Something Awful, and there's one in particular where a guy's like,
marijuana is the mother plant of the earth. Here's my theory. I'm high right now, if you must know. Alright, this is what happened. Reefer is a seed made from bacteria in space. The sun and the moon kept it warm and comfortable. It turned into a plant all of a sudden. The earth turned into a big bud. It resonated, causing the bud to get hard.
that is essentially like Nick's character. He's like a conspiracy theorist who's also like a dumb stoner, and he has a really long bit about like how all this might be related to like ghosts and ghost energy, and how there's like they make the ghosts work in these ghost factories, but they're rebelling.
Thank God.
And I don't
I feel
know.
like I got the most boring playthrough of the game, and it was great. I had a really good time, but like
You gotta
just the
take
stuff-
risks.
You got
Yeah,
it.
I guess the risks were the. I didn't want to kill Amy.
There was also another fun 420 Blaze It joke in this section of the game. I don't know
Right.
if you guys remember.
I absolutely
Tell
caught
me.
this.
You find a little, because you find some of Will's belongings also that seem to still be left in the lab. And in
Yeah.
one part, there's a little grow tent. He's got like some plants and
Some
stuff.
dead weed
yeah,
plants.
Some dead weed plants. And he's like, oh, classic Will. You know?
That's my brother.
So is this? I think that's actually when you get to the pool.
I
No,
thought it
this
was
is
in
where
this
you
location.
find the key. Or no, is that at the pool?
I don't think it was at the pool.
I think it's in his lab at the pool. I could be wrong.
I could be
Because I
wrong.
think it's in the pool area too, at the swim hall, is where you also find like the audio tapes about like doing the time experiments with the gerbil.
You do definitely find those audio logs at the pool. but I don't.
I thought the weed plant was in the same room.
It could be.
Doesn't matter, but it's in this act.
Turns out Will
was-
420 blazes.
Yeah,
so
it was
he's a cool guy.
It was clear that
That
Will,
is my criteria for cool. Sorry.
he lived and slept in these places that he worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like they were riddled with like the
Garbage.
paraphernalia of a crazy man.
Did you guys find? So this is in the Ground Zero lab. Did you find the quantum ripple that was the
Yes.
Riverport Rex's?
I found them all. I already
Sign.
told you, Matt.
No.
Okay.
You're not listening.
Well, if you find like a big cardboard or like wooden cutout of the Riverport Rex's mascot, which is like a just big T-Rex in a football
okay,
uniform,
It's pretty badass.
and if you touch it in the show, they'll be walking through the woods at one point and be like, "The hell is that?"
How's
Like,
that? It's there as well.
like you
Oh,
like
okay.
sent it,
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah.
I didn't get that. You transported it by
Somehow, yeah.
touching it. Oh, okay. I
That
thought-
caused like quantum ripple.
I remember. I forgot that it disappeared because I remember like Jack seeing it, like, what the hell? And then I forgot that it disappeared, and I remember seeing it later, and they were just like, what the hell? I thought it was just a weird like 665 joke.
There's also the 665 joke is also in this game.
Yes.
I was pissed. I was fucking pissed at this.
Why are
one.
you mad?
We'll get to it. We'll get to
get
it.
to it,
That's
yeah.
like Act 5.
Yeah, sorry.
I do want to note, though, that the Riverport Rexes are mentioned. I don't know if it's in unused dialogue or if it's just some of the dialogue you hear when you're walking around the lobby and control, like the executive. What is it? The main area, the main
Central
hub,
admin.
Central executive.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can overhear Monarch, or not Monarch. These aren't Monarch agents.
Oh.
You can overhear Bureau agents just like chatting about whatever. They talk about like the game with the Riverport Rexes.
What the fuck? I think I remember that.
So
That's wild.
just they're just nudging the quantum break Easter eggs in Control and shit are like so minor. There's Jack's Choice cigarettes.
Close enough.
There's a few things like that where it's like, damn, like they're just like they're winking at Quantum Break, but they're
So
like, sorry,
powerfully.
Microsoft owns it. That one's not ours.
I love that. Like, if you ask Sam Lake, it's like, are they connected? He's like, oh no, that's a totally different property. We're doing our own thing. And I'm like, you're fucking lying. You're a lying man.
Liar.
There was something that I've tried to I've paid attention to in all of these Remedy games from the beginning. I always looked at because they always went the extra mile to like couldn't think of the word mile.
I thought you were gonna sneeze.
No, I was thinking about it. Like the clutter in the world, like spray paint or like buckets of paint to paint tons of different kinds of different paint. They'll all have like different names, like like brand names and stuff. And I remember in Max Payne there was some comics, or not comics. There was magazines that were called like Chair Magazine, and like one was like Epic Gamer or something.
They keep up the hilarious magazine names all the way through Crossfire. There's like
Yeah?
there's some very funny ones in there.
I don't know if I've mentioned it, but yeah, like I remember Chair Magazine was just hilarious to me. Like why would like in a
Chair
like,
Monthly.
like who would read that?
It was also in this area that you do start to see the graffiti more.
That's right. Yes.
And there are paint cans, and I didn't notice this in my first playthrough because I don't think I was just fucking around enough. It looks really fucking good when you shoot a paint can and
Drop your iPad.
and paint explodes everywhere.
Yeah?
Oh, I didn't try that.
I never tried that.
It looks fucking sick. It totally like it's a very good effect.
Like
And
they didn't need to put that amount of effort into it.
yeah, because
chances.
sometimes you shoot something, it just like like
Or just like tips over.
atomizes. Yeah.
Yeah. Or just
So
flies off.
also this is where I first noticed the AWE graffiti.
Yeah, it was front and center, I think, as you come around a corner.
Yeah.
Like on a wall.
There's like a couple really big ones, and so again, speaking about like the weird sort of meta stuff, like the idea of the AWE, the altered world event, the crux of Control, was something that was first introduced in 2014 in the This House of Dreams blog, and then they continued bringing up the AWEs in Quantum Break, and then later, it's basically the main fucking, catalyst for everything that's happening in Control.
Right.
It's interesting to play Quantum Break with the knowledge that the Bureau would see this as a large scale AWE.
Yeah. Right.
and would see these Chronon affected individuals like Hatch and Joyce and Serene as like para-utilitarians, and
Yeah.
it's just interesting to think about it in the context of the control world, because the concept of AWEs exists in Quantum Break.
Right.
So it's really just like a fun thing to think about. There's not like any deeper revelations there, but it's just cool. It's just cool to be like
how the Bureau go about dealing with the fracture.
Yeah.
Because they don't have shit that dealt with time travel, really. Like they had a little bit of experience, like, or at least with like teleportation and stuff, for like time stuff. I don't remember that being mentioned too much in Control.
I don't think so.
But like they'd be like, what the fuck do we do?
Yeah.
Like, we hope that figures itself out.
I mean, hey, maybe that was what Quantum Break 2 was, because it was only a day. Basically, what you're playing through is only one full day, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
maybe the Bureau of Control shows up like 2-3 days later, and they're like, oh, what happened here?
It would make sense. It would make sense for them to show up or at least be aware. And they're also like, I think I mentioned it last episode as well, but there's a document just mentioning like people like online are talking about, basically people are starting to be like, wait, I think I know what's going on with Monarch. This is fucked up. What's going on? And they think that Monarch and the Bureau are like linked in some way or working together.
Okay.
Are you talking about people in real life or people in the universe?
In the game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I remember, there's mention of a conspiracy theory website and stuff like that I thought was very funny. But I wonder, because like we're getting into fanfic territory here, but like there could be like a Bureau person operating within Monarch that was their informant for all of their things that were going on there. You know what I mean? Much like Beth, you know what I mean?
Maybe Martin Hatch.
Maybe even
Works
Martin
for the
Hatch.
Bureau,
Yeah.
what I mean?
I don't know.
Or
Well,
the
maybe.
Clarice Ogawa.
Ogawa,
Because
yeah.
it was hard to get a fucking read on what her motivations were the entire game.
Yeah, big time.
What the hell she wanted to
Or
do.
who she was, you know what I mean? aligned
Bizarre.
with.
Bizarre that she was in the entire game.
Yeah,
the
but
entire game.
with very
Yeah.
little actual like character development.
Yeah.
Or revelations into what motivates her.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit more than meets the eye with that whole situation.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we'll get into it later. I assumed, because the cadence of the conversation between her and Jack, that is the narration of the game, it got like, it sounded like it was an interrogation at points.
Yeah, and it's weird because
More so than
It was hostile at points.
Yeah.
And it was weird because it's kind of like, why would Monarch need to know everything that happened?
I remember them
You know what
asking,
to
like-
a degree.
Yeah. I was
Like,
like,
why would
wouldn't they already know
doesn't
that?
Martin Hatch?
They just
know?
kind of dodged the question too, I think.
yeah.
So as you exit Will's lab, you find like a mobile Monarch lab where Will's car is there that they confiscated from the school, and you find his laptop, and you knew that there was something important in his trunk that he was trying to get to when you were in the first act.
Yeah.
There's like that little parking lot area where you have to like get through. I think it's one of the first like larger combat sections.
Because you go to the parking lot and then you get shot at as you get to his car, and then you're like, I guess fuck his car.
Yeah.
And you go back and
Yeah.
you're like, Will, fuck your car. And he's like, no. We need that.
But what you find is the key to the Bradbury swimming hall. And
I was kind of hoping that you were going to find like the countermeasure in the trunk of his car.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like this incredibly important world-saving piece of technology is just
That'd be
rattling
super-
around. And that's what I mean. It would be very Will.
Yeah. Just clanking around in the back of his car. It's all scuffed up and shit.
Yeah.
So the Bradbury swimming pool.
yes. So you get the key to it. You don't really know anything more than like, I guess this is the important thing Will needed.
Yeah.
But you're still headed toward the dry docks because you know that Serene's going to be there. So
You want to kick his ass.
you do eventually get there, and you see him, and you're like, and you just fucking shoot at him.
Yeah,
like
he's in like a helicopter far from you.
yeah, but you pop off like 4 shots, and it's like it's pretty crazy to think that like Jack is just like so blind with rage. He's like, I'm gonna fucking shoot Paul.
Which makes you wonder, like,
yeah.
because it never really tells you what it is that he got into trouble doing that got him sent. I mean, that he had then fled to Thailand or whatever.
Right.
There was one thing that like gave you a little more info than what we've talked about, but I can't remember what it was.
It basically seems like he may have like got, I don't know. It was definitely illegal. There's definitely guns
yeah, it was
involved.
Like a
Definitely
Con Air
illegal.
scenario where like he
Yeah.
killed someone in a bar fight. You know what I
Jesus
mean?
Christ.
Defending his pregnant wife,
Yeah.
and now he's.
It's
know.
I
You've
wish
seen Con Air. Yeah.
I've never seen it.
No?
I know I need to see it.
Oh,
It looks
no, you
so
don't.
good.
It's I mean
I think I would love it.
it's like Nick Cage, John
I know.
Malkovich, and Dave.
I've read
Chappelle
about
are,
it.
like the leads.
It seems like it seems like I'd be very entertained
Oh,
by
and
it.
Danny Trejo's in it. It's fucking it's an all-star
star-studded
cast.
cast.
It is a
something.
goofy movie.
It's something that implicated that yes,
goofy
he did,
movie?
extremely goofy. He definitely was doing some bad boy stuff, but kept him in a positive light. It wasn't like he was just a murderer. Like it seems like maybe he was like involved in a drug thing. I can't remember what it was. So, but it was.
I think it was like a drug thing. I think
it wasn't like Jack
Like,
was
he
a
was just
murderer.
kind of like no, he was just like a bad kid.
Maybe he got in a gunfight, no one got killed, or like because he was doing something wrong, but it wasn't.
We don't know. But you're saying, what did he do? Because it seems like he if he's pushed in the wrong direction, he'll just fucking openly fire on a guy that like. What's he gonna do? Shoot him and then he just drop out of the helicopter
And
then
that was like that's like his best friend.
yeah.
Really, when you get down, or like a very long time friend, and like also right at the beginning of the game, like the first guy that like is a threat to you and William, you're just like, don't worry, got him, boom, boom,
yeah,
boom,
you
boom,
blast him.
and just murder him. You know what I mean? And it is like self-defense, but like he seems to have no real problem.
Do you remember what Will says?
No.
He says, Jack, my fellow American brother, did you just kill that man? And he said, oh, yeah. And then you keep going, and says, yeah, I guess you're right.
Are you making fun of his really good American accent?
Paul basically like shrugs it off, and he's like, oh, leave him.
He was
It's fine.
really cool about it.
And then he uses his Magneto
boat at
powers to like. There's a fucking like a I don't know, like the Titanic is like being built on the dry docks, and so so there's like the skeleton of an enormous ship.
Of the fucking Titanic.
So, yeah.
It's
The actual
huge.
Titanic
It is. Yeah, it's like a cargo ship.
Yeah, it's enormous, and it's
the bow of a cargo ship.
Yeah.
and he just is like zap and causes it to like fall on you, which causes a time stutter. So you're in this like. You know, it's all shipping crates and scaffolding of a giant ship that's
Steel beams.
yeah. And this is like a kind of a puzzle section. I'm seeing Sluggo fur fly into my face as I talk.
Yeah, and it's like the first. It's really the first. I think like platforming section of the game.
Yeah, puzzle platforming, which reminded me a lot of
Alan Wake.
That section in the DLC, and then there's a similar section.
I believe it's the boss fight of the main game. Am I wrong? In Alan Wake?
That's similar. I'm thinking of the one in the DLC where there's like that like weird rotating thing that you're in, and there's like you're like climbing on the giant keyboard and or typewriter keys and everything, and it reminded me of that a little bit, where it's just like topsy turvy kind of, and there's similar set pieces in a lot of Remedy games, and it's another thing where it's just like this felt very Remedy. They're like it's like this weird sort of like. It's not difficult platforming, but you can't just blaze through it either.
Yeah, because there's some points where you kind of do have to, like, you either have to wait for the thing to fall to get onto it, or it's like, it's not like, there's never been a platforming, like, section in a Remedy game that has really just felt smooth. You know what I mean? Like, they always feel a little bit clunky, because it feels like the player's not really designed to jump from obstacle to obstacle.
Yeah.
And that becomes clear in the platforming sections.
I like them though.
They're fine. It's not that they're bad, aside from Max Payne 1, I think.
Max Payne 1 is painful at times,
Baby Blood Trail's hard. But that's also their first game, so you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever. First major game. But no, it just never really felt smooth. It was kind of clunky. You feel weird. It's awkward.
It's PC platforming. It doesn't feel like...
No, I mean, you get through it fine. Yeah. But I wasn't like, oh, cool, that was a great platforming section. I was like, there was a platforming section.
But I feel like in Control, they're like, fuck it, the character can fly.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about the platforming.
You can if you want.
You can, but you can also just like... Vroom.
I reckon whatever.
That's so much better.
Yeah. Well, platforming I did in Control felt awesome, but also I'm remembering playing the end of the game where you have the levitation and the crazy mobility powers.
And the ridiculous sets.
Yeah, more so than before you get those powers.
They don't force much platforming before that.
No. Quantum
really
Break,
only in a couple of like the training segments.
Yeah.
There's a couple of times where I was like, "Can I make this?" And, no, you can't make it.
No, you often if you don't think you can,
fall into the chasm.
you probably cannot make the jump.
As we keep saying, Quantum Break feels like the perfect middle ground between in regards to platforming
And combat.
and everything.
Overall.
It feels much better because but it even makes sense that it feels better than Alan Wake because Alan's just a guy. At least Jack Joyce is like a fit, younger, like man. You know what I mean? Whereas Alan, alcoholic, 30s writer. You know what I mean? So like it makes sense that his jumping is a little bit better. I like these segments. I guess it's because it gets you more in tune with the world. I guess.
I thought they were very visually appealing and cool looking segments.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I just thought the platforming itself was lackluster.
Just the platforming, yeah. Even, I like the puzzles too, kind of. Just that you have to use your powers
to reset time.
Yeah,
Kinda like
or
Prince
to
of
rush
free
through
stuff
areas.
or rush
You have a little bit of choice with how you approach some of these.
Yeah,
a little bit of Jack's choice.
Jack's choice. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, I'm trying to think of why I liked them. Maybe because it is the set pieces are just so big and crazy. You're like, imagine a car crash in slow motion, but you're navigating through.
Imagine the Titanic falling on you.
Yeah,
real
but
slow, and then
on
sometimes
land.
very quickly, and then
Yeah.
slow again, and then not at all.
So
and then quick again.
I can't say the platforming sections were amazing, but I liked them. I think
Yeah.
and it was like
It was
the
a very
Jack's
calamitous
commentary.
scene.
Maybe because it helped paint how Jack would feel in those segments. Like, shit! Like, you know, this is ridiculous. Like, holy crap.
It is very good with his dialogue. He's like, "What the fuck's going?" Like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
Okay.
reactions
No,
were
no, no,
always
no, no.
pretty
You know, he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh fuck."
Oh my god.
I got wrecked by a few of these too the first few times I played this.
Absolutely, especially towards the end.
But this area of the game, I believe, is where you also first encounter the sort of Chronon-assisted Monarch agents who have like the giant backpacks and can like
Yes, I
Dash
believe
around.
so.
like yeah, they basically have your powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scaled back, but yeah.
And when
Pretty
you,
much just
we
like the time dodge and
when we talked about before too in the last episode, you mentioned like I think you mentioned when you shoot them, they just like kind of
yeah,
Freeze.
if you get them in the
it looks
backpack,
so good.
it's
It
fucking
does.
awesome.
It reminded me of in Evil Within 2, there's those scenes that we encountered where the killer would like
the photograph?
photograph someone, they'd be frozen with the blood splatters and stuff.
And
That
you can kind
looks-
of walk in and give you the full 3D. Those were
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that is kind of similar, isn't it?
Yeah, really like just a very effective visual where sometimes it's just like, damn, like that looks so cool, and it's very satisfying to like see the guy like just get wrecked basically
yeah.
and just be stuck in that pose. I don't know, there's something pretty cool about that. And this is also the first section of the game where you encounter part 1 of the Time Knife screenplay.
Oh yeah.
Love the time knife. I do
So-
want to mention. I love the motion blur of the jetpacks, or the Chronon packs, like the yellow sparks that like kind of just bloomed through the air and like kind of streaked
After
out.
you've blown them up.
Yeah, not to get too big brain, but like that's like that as an effect. That's really cool because that's it's not realistic. You wouldn't see that in Frozen time, but it just looked really.
Well, it's
fucking
50-50 because what I thought was cool about that for the realism aspect is that it's the harnesses, those things on their back are what's allowing them to move in the time break. So if you
Yeah.
just kill them, they just hit the ground. But if you destroy the harness, that's when they freeze back in time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's
And that
you know.
if you were getting real like role play in this game, that's a non-lethal takedown that you could do. So at least like if you were trying not to murder these men,
Technically, I guess, yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
There are definitely people you can't not murder, though.
yeah.
It also
You could
looks
just keep freezing time every time they get back out.
it looks just like the concept art. If you look at the concept art for the game, and I'll put some up here.
Wow.
There's a lot of those like blue and yellow trails and like the sort of just like, I don't know, it looks like trailing lights a lot of the time in the concept art, and they did a great job at like bringing that into a 3D space.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, I haven't seen any of the concept art, but it's like, it's a really, again, I mean, Remedy's
It's
just
got
good
a
at it.
look.
But it's a very distinct look, and I like it.
I
really
mentioned
like the look of like the fractures. Like every time that there is a
Damn,
stutter or
yeah.
anything and you're just moving around, like the weird like fractal things going on and stuff like that, and just like it just looks cool.
When you're going,
I have a tag on that.
yeah, what is it?
With
You can't talk.
You're not allowed.
I didn't know. You looked like you didn't have it.
I do have it. I was trying to gauge how upset you'd be by me cutting it off. Oh no, he's really mad.
It's boiling over.
This was just like the fucking hiss. When I remember, I felt like when I was in the when I was in the fractures.
Stutters.
The
whole thing's a fracture.
Yes, when it's making those crazy noises and everything's moving kind of distortedly in a very unpredictable way, and you're just alone with the sounds of that, which it probably would be silent, but what the fuck ever. I remember feeling similar to the beginning of Control, where I was like, oh my god, this hiss chant is fucking unnerving. It felt very similar.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say similar to Control. I mentioned when we discussed Control at some point, the way the hotline calls work. With like the chromatic aberration stuff and like the separation of the RGB channels and shit, where you see like, where you see the colors kind of spread a little bit, like as if they're like a drop shadow of themselves. I mentioned that it looks very similar to the way the junction points work, where when Paul's looking into the possible futures and it kind of like projects those images and swirls around, it feels like there's very similar visual effects.
And I think you mentioned in the last episode also that the language of those junction points is very similar to the way
Andrew
that
said that.
Or you and one of you did.
It's like something / something.
Yeah, the way that they speak, where it's like everything that they say, technically they're saying both things. You know what I mean? They're saying that thing and the antithesis of it simultaneously. Because they can't say... It seems like there's a connection between the hotline calls, what were those called?
Hotline calls.
Yeah, but what was the board?
Oh, yeah.
Like the board is potentially, you know what I mean? We're getting ahead of ourselves here, but
you don't know what
a creature that they exist outside of time or whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that could be what it is.
Separate reality, or
because that's effectively what like the Chronon sickness is slowly doing to Paul.
Yeah,
it's like pulling him into all time. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he can't decide what time he's
spirit omniscient being that has no self-control.
It's funny that we keep saying like Control reminds me, or I'm sorry, Quantum Break reminds me of Control. Whereas if we had played the games in sequence, we'd probably think like, oh, this was just like in Quantum Break. It's interesting the way that we experienced it. And yeah, I did love seeing this very similar. Did you guys notice the like in the Northlight engine, the reflections? Remember being like how crazy those were, that you could like kind of see like Jesse's reflection in like elevator walls and shit.
Oh yeah,
that's here too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's obviously it's refined and more refined in Control, but I was just like, fuck, same shit.
Yeah, if you can play Control with ray tracing and stuff, I think it was one of the first games, to really take advantage of it big time. It looks even better. It's crazy how like they're just seemingly starting to max out what that engine can do.
It's really, really impressive to me. I remember the first time I noticed in the game, but I was like, wow, that looks really Remedy, and I can't explain why, is when it said save the library, or something projected up on that wall. Maybe it was the library. It was the library. I remember just thinking like that looks so Remedy in a way that I can't explain. But I was just like, this is totally...
I wasn't sure if that was a projection or not. I know what you're talking about. It's like outside. It says it.
I thought so. Do you think it was just a...
I don't know. I was like...
It was a banner with lights on it.
I couldn't tell. I was like, what is that? It was. Yeah.
My perception was a banner with spotlights on it.
Okay. Where were the spotlights though?
I don't know.
On the ground. Just the way it looked and the way it was lit, I was like, if it's a projector, where's the projection coming from? If it's not, like, where are those lights? Like, it didn't totally make sense to me definitively.
Definitive. You got to play Quantum Break, the definitive.
I'll be sure to fucking look forward to that. So we did mention briefly, Time Knife is very fucking funny. Did you read any of that?
Yeah, I read a little bit. I didn't.
You didn't finish it?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it was long, but it was so worth it.
I definitely thought it was like funny, and I was like, haha.
It's good.
Kept going.
There's like a, honestly, to me it was very cringe, but there's like a video that they did at some point. I don't remember how they got it done. They did like a table read with the cast of Quantum Break of Time Knife, but it's like it's not great quality.
Yeah.
And it's also like it's just kind of loose. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, this is like kind of fun for nerds, but I'm not actually getting like entertainment value out of this. It's just like, oh, that's neat.
Right.
The video or the actual script?
The table read that he's
table read.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. The reading the script hilarious. Like
Very funny.
I actually laughed out loud. I thought you were gonna really like it.
I did like it. I just there's a lot of.
I thought you would care more, and you've proven that you don't.
I remember, yeah.
I never claimed to.
Yeah, but I thought you would, so now I'm mad.
When I saw how long it was, I was just like, that's when it first started to hit me, and I'm like, man, there's a lot of reading in this game. But I was just like, I started reading a little bit, and I was like, all right, this looks funny.
I actually learned how to read so I could read the stuff in this game.
Oh,
yeah.
Good for you. Good for
I'm
you.
proud, you know.
Thanks.
So
I also, not to interrupt, I like
right.
that as the game goes on, you continue to find emails between, I believe, the person who wrote this script, who works at Monarch, and is it Dr. Amaral?
Yeah.
Yeah, where him like, have you read my script yet? Like, they'll be talking about something work-related, and then he's like, also, though, have you read that script? I think it's great. It's worth checking out.
yeah. So it's written from Bruce somebody who
Livingstone or Livingston.
You're right, yeah.
Bruce Dickinson.
Bruce Dickinson.
Cock of the walk.
First Dick and Son.
And it's just obvious that this entire script is just, he's in love with Sophia. The main character's name is also Bruce, and the female lead or love interest is Sophine is her name. Maybe it's pronounced Sophina, but it's Sophine.
Like Aquafina.
And and just the entire time he's like fighting against like Paul Marine or something, and like he's this evil douchebag, and like, he has to. Yeah. He has a time gun that has time bullets.
It's just like this guy's sexual fantasy, like his his hero fantasy. You know?
Yeah, but
and he has this goofy friend.
it gets. There's no way to recap it.
No,
So like those are the basic building blocks, but the story is extremely convoluted.
And then the guy came out, but then it wasn't him, and actually it was another guy.
There's like a million gotchas in there.
Yeah.
It's basically like if somebody who had no fucking clue how to actually write something was like, I'm going to write the most mind-blowing murder mystery, action, romance, comedy anyone's ever seen.
So there was a group on YouTube that did film this as a sketch. They did the first act, and they never finished it. And they were like, oh, we shot this a long time ago. It took us a while to edit it. We're probably not going to finish it.
Shame.
Maybe we should do that.
I would love to do that. They got a couple second trailer, or like a teaser, like to the intro of it. That was in the game later on.
Yeah.
Like a
Time knife or time stabber.
Yeah.
time stabber.
Anyway, it's very funny. If you haven't read it and you like dumbass comedy, you would probably enjoy reading it. It's it's kind of long for what it is, but it's probably like 10 pages.
Yeah, like getting into a little bit of it. I started. I was like, and then like by the end of it, I was just like actually laughing.
Yeah, it is legitimately funny, and it's nice that Remedy games can have actual humor in them.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what I mean? Video games are not always good at humor.
No, you're absolutely right. It feels like it's one of those moments where like when you see a commercial about like drug use or something, and you're like, this is not how people speak. This isn't how people talk. I've seen these scenarios where someone is confronting someone about drug use, and this is not how people speak to each other. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like that when they try to tell jokes or make like funny scenarios. I'm like, have you interacted with a human being before? Whoever wrote this script?
You ever talked to somebody?
Weird. Yeah, like have you said anything funny in your life?
The other thing that happens here is, when you eventually get out of the shipwreck, Beth shows up. She pulls up in a car and she's like,
"Damn it, Jack!
I told you not to do anything stupid." And he's like, "Yeah, well, I've never been one for following the rules." And he's in the car with her. He I don't know what he's doing. He pulls out his gun. She grabs it and pistol whips him in the face.
Yeah, because he tries to be all like, "I still don't trust you," and because the whole time there's
like,
even
"Shut up."
There's a moment when he takes the gun from Burke. Because he takes the gun from Burke immediately when there's like the time stutter and he escapes from the van. But then he kind of pauses on Beth and he's like, do I take the gun from her? Because he still, at this point at least, really has no fucking clue who to trust.
Yeah.
Right.
I think he's still just
And
reeling.
she's still a Monarch agent.
Yeah, and he's still just reeling from the fact that he watched his brother die and he's now killed probably 20, 30 people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's not even supposed to be in America right now because he's already wanted for something. You know?
Yeah.
He wasn't
So it's
supposed to be there.
just stress.
Not even supposed to be here today.
Classic. I love that commercial or whatever that's from.
It's from Clerks.
Is it from Clerks?
Yeah.
It's my day off.
It's my day off.
Oh, it's my day off to Jay off. It's my day off to Silent Jay off.
Oh.
And then he says, "My girlfriend sucked 37 dicks." He says,
I
in a
know.
row?
I know. I've seen Clerks.
Yeah.
Seen Clerks.
I'm aware of Kevin.
I was such a big fucking fan of Clerks. I remember when they announced the Clerks animated series, I couldn't believe that they were going to do that.
I've never watched it.
It ran, I think they ran like 3 episodes. It like the first one aired, they changed the time slot.
Instantly?
I couldn't find it, and then I saw another episode like 2 or 3 weeks later, and then it was gone forever. And it wasn't until like years later I saw like a DVD box set of all the episodes. I was like, oh yeah, I was fucking pumped as hell, and it sucks.
It started to
It's not good at all.
Adult Swim for a little while, I think.
Oh, really?
After it had come out, once they had because like you said, only a few episodes actually aired, and then they had to just release the full season separately from that on their own.
They're like, this sucks.
And they played it on Adult Swim for a little while, and I, as someone who really liked as a teenager Kevin Smith movies, you know what I mean?
Me too.
Couldn't fucking get through it. It was
No, even as a child, like I don't know, I couldn't have been more than like 12 when it came out, but I was still like, Clerks and Mallrats were like 2 of my favorite films.
Yeah.
I was so pumped.
I don't know if it changed or if we changed, but man, I can't do that stuff anymore.
I think Clerks really holds up.
Does it?
I think
And Mallrats.
All right.
Mallrats kind of holds up.
I like a lot of the jokes.
I think a lot of the jokes hold up. I think there's just certain, I don't know, the whole movie doesn't totally.
I tried to watch
Weird. It's weird. I don't know how to articulate what I'm trying to say.
Beanie Weenies.
It's because it's just weird to watch a movie about malls when our mall is dying. It makes you feel bad.
I guess I don't know. I mean, I guess I kind of experienced like the mall rat thing, but as like a teen, you know what I mean? Like as a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, not as like a 25-year-old, you know?
Yeah.
Like just hanging out at the mall. I could never get a gauge on what age any of these characters are supposed to be.
No, I'm assuming they're all between the age of like 19 and 50.
Yeah, I think that's genuinely that seems to be
That's
the
the
range.
spread.
Anyway, so it was Jack's day off. He wasn't even supposed to be there that day.
No.
But he assures Beth
dad.
that
Gonna jack this day off.
that they are going to open the swimming pool. Basically, it's like it was their only lead. Sophia's like, "What made you head to the swimming hall?" And he's like, "Well, it's like I don't know. It's like the only fucking lead we had.
Yeah.
I don't know."
Because he just has a key that goes somewhere, and he
He has
knows,
achy, breaky heart.
Yeah. Don't take it.
I just don't think you'd understand. But he knows that Jack owned the Bradbury swimming pool or whatever.
Yeah.
Or was
No,
living there
he didn't
No,
know.
that was
No, he
secret.
didn't know. Oh, okay.
No, because
Jack
Sophia's
never-
like, "Did you know he owned it?" And he was like, "No."
Oh no, he finds that once he once he gets there.
Will,
He's
that
like,
was-
you fucking have owned. Yeah.
There was some shit that you can read that was long, but explained that like he managed to keep that extremely under wraps.
Yeah, since
Yeah.
like 1999.
Yeah, even Monarch somehow
Yeah.
wasn't aware. Which,
Right. So and Paul, I think it's at the end of this in the Junction. They're like, "We've been searching for that time machine for 14 years, and they found it in a fucking day."
Yeah, like less than a
Yeah.
day. Like it's like 5 hours after the fracture, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Here we are at the time machine." They're
So-
like, "It's been 20 years."
It was, what was the name of it?
The Bradbury Swimming Hall.
I'm Ethan Bradbury.
I don't. Is that a joke you're trying to make that we
No,
don't
that's
know?
a reference. I'm Ethan Bradbury. You don't
Ethan
remember?
Bradbury.
Or Ethan Bradbury, the prank king of YouTube with his brother.
Only prank king of YouTube I know is Longmont Potion Castle, baby.
I don't know what that is.
Is that?
That is the slamming guy.
Oh, I don't know that one.
They used to punk him on the old. Remember H3H3?
You used to yell slamming at me.
I still do.
Like that I remember.
So Ethan Bradbury.
It's funny that. It's funny.
It's very funny.
It's funny. It's funny that Ethan would slam him for being cringy, and instead your takeaway was, "I'm going to emulate the cringe guy."
I think it's. I like yelling slamming. I think it's very fun. And that's what my Wi-Fi is called.
I remember that. Yeah.
Instantly when I saw Bradbury swimming pool, I said, "I'm Ethan Bradbury."
When I said it earlier, you gave me a look. I was like, I don't know what that means, but I'm sure he's going to tell me eventually.
I was getting my Ethan Bradbury loaded up. I was chambering it. Is that the right term?
Sure,
Yeah.
that's the right term. You have a little.
Got one in the chamber.
Yeah. Anyway, I got one in my chamber, and it says so.
And it's diarrhea.
They in this whole section is, full of collectibles and documents and
Reminded me of starting off the Alan Wake
the investigation sector.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's like you can't walk more than 5 feet without hitting 3 more
Like
documents.
you just see
Right.
all this shining shit. You're
There's
like,
just
oh
papers
my
all over the
God.
ground, and every one of them you will have to read.
Yeah.
And so and I'm just like there's just like sluggo hair everywhere. One of the cool things is a TV, and it's like got like a little like a a VCR in the TV, I think, or whatever. But you turn it on, there's like a message from William to Beth.
I wanted to bring this up to you guys, specifically because
You didn't watch it.
no. So you obviously, when you get to the pool, you have to break in like through a window or whatever to then let Beth and either Nick or Amy in,
Oh,
right?
yes. Did you? Oh, you did the same shit as I did. Then.
Okay, so I'm just curious. Yeah, I'm curious because I explored first as they're yelling at you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I kind of wandered
too.
around alone.
Do you remember if you did?
And
That's where this is all going.
Did
Do
you?
remember?
The first time I played, I did, but I felt very uneasy about it. I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing this, but my desire to see more shit is like, because they don't stop pounding on the door.
Yeah. They're kind of, hey, what are you doing in there? You've been in the bathroom for 45 minutes.
Yeah,
long time.
instead of just being like,
Go away.
hey, we'll be out here, just let us in as soon as you can.
I was
And
concerned
you
I was
go,
going to
cool.
sequence break the game. I thought I was moving ahead prematurely and it was going to fuck
And
something
then,
up.
so I watched that video before I let them in.
Yeah.
Because you can.
Oh.
And I wanted to know what kind of
No,
interaction.
can you?
Yes, because I
Yeah.
did. And then
I thought you couldn't. Oh no, it's later in time because
and
you
then
can't
when-
like knock. You can't open the doors without
Yeah,
Will
later
the
you
second
need help
time.
with Will,
yeah.
But
Very
this
strong,
one, all that's
burly
open,
Will.
and you get to it, and when you let Beth in, you're like, "Hey, Beth, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why aren't you telling me everything?" And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And then you show them.
They
the
say, you
video.
bitch!
Wow.
I was curious, like,
Yeah.
are you not accusatory of her? If you just let
No,
them in there? 'Cause
you're both like, what is this?
you are like, "Hey, Beth, you fucking lying bitch."
That's so
You're like,
cool.
"What's going on? You're not telling
That's
me anything."
wild.
And then
Yeah,
she watches
that's
it
wild.
and gets to the point where
You're
Beth also has no fucking clue that
Yeah.
Jack left her this.
So,
Beth states at this point that they'd never met. She's never met
right.
William
then
Joyce.
she finds Jack finds a video where Will is addressing Beth directly, and he's
Yeah.
like, "What the fuck, Beth?
Yeah.
You never met my brother, you bitch!"
Right. In my experience, I didn't see that, so we all saw it together, and
Yeah.
they're just like all in awe.
I was
there was no
curious, yeah.
tension.
So then Jack kind of leaves that situation, thinking more like, "Do I trust this woman? Like Jesus Christ!"
By the end, it seems like by the end of it, he's believing her that she doesn't know. She has to convince him though. There's a couple more moments where she's like, "I never met your brother. I don't
Yeah.
know what's going on either." You know what I mean? But
I believe it's in these scenes where Will is doing his video diaries, basically, that he's wearing a Night Springs T-shirt.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
that was pretty sick.
I never pick up on the shirt. I picked up on the Stone Crow shirt as I went back and I'm replaying through some of the junction points to make different decisions, and I did notice the Stone Crow T-shirt immediately this time.
I think there's
But I don't pick up on that stuff like you guys do.
I think I noticed because I'm very used to seeing that imagery. I played one of their songs at work the other day.
Well, I just mean like what they're wearing. Period. Whether it's you know what I
yeah.
mean, like the bright fall shirt. I'm not looking at those.
If
small
I see
details.
text anywhere or an image anywhere, I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, I don't. My brain does. Yeah, my brain
guy.
does not do that.
I think what cued me in, I don't know if I would have noticed it if they hadn't. I think one of the artifacts of the VHS, like right when it first starts, I think it flashes white and it inverts the colors. And I could be so wrong, but there's something that draws your attention, or maybe it lingers on the screen for a second.
He does kind of like
I believe they
he like
made-
leans in, I believe, and like adjusts the camera.
There was an
and like
effort-
shows his chest like pretty
okay.
There was
blatantly.
an effort made to make you see.
the bright.
He also like there was
Springs.
like the Jack Joyce character was wearing a Night Springs T-shirt in a beta build of the game.
Yeah.
So there's like
Jack was?
there's like a cut scene of it's actually I think in the next episode when you're on the highway bridge and there's like all the protesters are clashing with the Monarch agents and they're frozen in time.
Yep.
It's like a little vertical slice of that area of the game, and he's wearing a Night Springs T-shirt, and it's like the same shirt that William has on,
Okay.
which is just like. I'm glad they put it on William instead of like making the main
Yeah.
character of the game wear a Night Springs shirt all the time. It would have
Yeah.
been that would have been a little
Loud.
distracting. Yeah.
For sure.
This is a sick area though. Like, if you have Nick with you, he basically is like,
I knew it.
oh man, he goes on and on and on. He tries to like start like a disinformation campaign to like, get the heat off of Jack and everything, and I don't know. I'm not going to do it justice. It's just there is a lot of hilarious dialogue with him, and also you find like that Jack was in like some like sort of like emo rock band.
Yes.
Yeah, I found
that's like touched on a couple times. That he clearly used to be in like an emo band.
Yeah, like a 2003 like My Chemical Romance like type like
Somewhere between that and like I Set My Friends on Fire.
Yeah.
Like
and they play one of the songs in the background. You find like their tour
What?
poster.
No kidding. I didn't know that they had a recording of it. I think
I didn't find that part either.
there was an email.
Amy's mostly just fucking annoying.
Because when
If
you
I can be honest
because
with you, she's
annoying and-
mostly just great.
I remember. I was
annoying and boring.
I was shocked like when I played with Nick and I was like, wow, this is like way funnier. Sometimes a little annoying, but not in the same way.
I think Charlie mentions doing a deep dive on Jack, and he found that he was in an emo band. But I thought that was the extent of it. Amy, man, she's Amy, man.
Man, duh.
Oh, duh. She's great for what her character is, and I think she behaves realistically as that person. But
Right.
It's just kind of boring.
Well,
Even, I remember when you reveal to her, do you remember revealing to her, like, Jack's just like, it's a time machine. And she just says something, well, I guess I'll just file that away with the other things that I can't believe happened today. And I'm just like, ugh.
There's a.
You're so
Well,
live, laugh,
that just
love.
happened.
Yeah,
She's
literally.
she's one of the. I remember messaging you guys and being like, "Is there really poor character development in this game, or am I just
that what
missing
it was?
stuff, or am I just?" It was her, and then there's a moment that we'll get to, I believe, in the next act that'll bring up as my other motivation for that.
The
But-
fuck scene.
Yeah, the really
other
hardcore
fuck
fuck scene, but no, the full penetration. No,
Wow.
but no, it's that like later in the game, you guys like take a hostage, quote unquote, and you say, "Hey, Amy, keep an eye on her."
Oh, that
and
sucked.
Amy's like, "I got the gun. Don't worry." Even though earlier in the game you're around people with guns, and Amy's like, "Oh my god, somebody
Yeah,
help
sobbing.
me!" You know what I mean? And it's like, why are within 7 hours you're suddenly this hardened fucking? I'll shoot this fucking person. Don't
Yeah.
even. You better watch it.
They could have. They could have even been like. They should have had a moment where Jack was just like, I didn't put any bullets in.
And like she's also like she's at a computer at one point and she's like, "Well, Jack, I found out a lot of stuff that you're gonna need to know." And I was like, "When did you reveal that you can gather any sort of information?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can hack into Monarch. Like when was
Yeah,
that one of
when-
your skill sets?
like, come on.
That was just fucking. She annoyed me. Sorry.
Wow.
2 characters I hated in this game. She's one of them.
I didn't like her very much, though. She was very much like well written as an annoying college liberal.
Yeah. No. Great.
Yeah, which is inevitably that's where I like got was I was like, I guess it is fitting of her character to be like, "Oh, I have the gun now. I have the power. Don't worry. I'm definitely capable of handling
But if
this.
somebody
I
slapped
can
it-
handle anything."
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's
Yeah.
very funny where it's usually like you'd expect her to be like, guns are terrible. Like,
Yes.
don't trust. And then it's like, oh, now I'm in control. It's
Yeah.
like, that is kind of like
And also her
a
like
thing you see when people have weak
her
convictions.
flip-flopping of like it wasn't really like in the PR choice, it wasn't really like directly implied that they'd kill her. You know what I mean? I think they like vaguely threatened her
They
family.
threaten her family.
Yeah. And like again, like vaguely.
Because
you know what I mean?
because well, that's like they make pretty like regular mention of it if you pick the hardline choice. That it's like this is not what we normally do. This is not how we handle things.
Yeah.
And it's like it's pretty fucked up that we're actually killing these people.
Yeah.
Because it's like you might use intimidation, you might use dirty tactics, you might all the international trading and the like resources and stuff that Monarch does, questionable ethics, but they're not executing people
They're not executing college students.
yet.
Yeah.
But and so that was just I forget where I was going. But it's basically like she flip-flops so hard where she's
Yeah.
like, "Okay, yes, I will accuse Jack Joyce of all this just to protect myself." And then the moment that she feels like safe, you know what I mean, again, she's like,
suddenly-
"Okay, no, never mind. Sorry, I did that. I'll try to fucking do everything." Which
Yeah.
makes sense, you know what I mean, to a degree, but it is like that every moment where she has power, suddenly she's kind of it is that college liberal, I don't actually know what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
I just want to feel important.
Yeah.
You know
We're
what I
looking
mean?
for purpose.
Yeah.
I see. I think through Matt's previous line of work and my current line of work, see a lot of that. I'm gonna
You know who you are.
fuck you. I know you're great. You're the best people. I'm gonna sequence break
mean
this
well.
this video real quick. I remember feeling legitimately kind of like distressed, like when Monarch is raiding the university like with the guns and shit. I remember feeling like, oh man, this is gross. This is like I could feel the terror that would cause in that scenario.
Yeah, but I made the hardline choice yesterday, and it's like you hear Paul Serene being like, gather up the rest of the witnesses. Have you taken care of all the witnesses? You know what I mean? Like over the thing or whatever. And it's like fucking...
Well, you also in the beginning of the second act, when you're in that security room where you overhear the call about, Joyce is going to meet me at the gala tonight. And it's because Paul is basically predicting the future.
Yeah.
There's like a board with like the witnesses and there's like big X's over their faces.
Oh yeah.
It's fucking... it's rough. Whereas like in the other one, it's just like, we just got to talk to them before they leave.
We're coming up on a Junction, right?
Soon, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, pretty soon.
Then I'll hold my comments until then.
Well, basically, yeah. Nick will roast you for being in that band.
Oh, thank God.
He'll also...
Did it make mention of what his role was in the band? Was he the
Play
singer?
guitar, right?
I play guitar.
I don't remember, but yeah, I think they do mention it.
For some
I
reason,
feel
in
it's
my
him
head,
and Will were in the band together with another person.
Yeah?
It's a trio.
Oh, okay.
I only think that because they do show an image of the band.
Was it Paul?
I don't think it was Paul.
That'd be hilarious.
It is in my head canon. It's Paul.
All right, we'll say it's Paul.
It's the Quantum Break.
I also I couldn't find where the music was coming from because I wanted to get closer to the speaker so I could hear the song better. And I don't know if it's just like intentionally played very vague. I don't know, like often the in-game band, has been so far. It's been Old Gods of Asgard.
Yeah.
I don't know who this like band was. They got to do this song, or I can't remember what the name of the band was. I'll put it up on the screen here. I wanted to like interact with this a little bit more, and I couldn't. So, but all the shit that Nick is doing online, he also like basically details this like flame war he's having with like another forum user.
Right, just like absolutely roasting each other.
Yeah, just like arguing over nothing.
Yeah.
It's
what the hell? He sounds so great.
It's pretty good, and it was just very interesting to see this character because I like
rewarded for killing Amy.
I liked him in Control. I thought Dylan was a good character, but like I was always just like, damn, I wish I knew like a little bit more about Dylan. I wish I had like a little bit more access to him because basically like he's in a cell, and then all his monologues where he like, I had a dream, sister. I love all those. Those are all really fucking entertaining.
Yeah.
And then he's like, nah, I'm gonna go to sleep indefinitely.
Damn. His Dylan's interviews with whoever it was that was like going into a cell and like talking to him, and that was like the best moments because to, like get a little bit more about who he was before he got totally hissed.
So we did mention that the pool there's just like documents fucking everywhere, but there is also a time machine. That's the whole reason you're there.
Yeah.
It's the second time machine, and so
You keeping track?
there's two of them.
2 time machine. That's it.
So they attempt to activate the time machine, and it doesn't work.
And Jack is like freaking out, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Like he's like, no, we just got to do this. He's like, I know what I'm doing. I did it one time and it blew up. But
And Beth is like,
I'm an expert at this now.
no, no, stop. But
remember last time?
she's like, I think I know someone who can help us fix this.
Yeah, my dead brother.
The head of Chronon Research at Monarch, Dr. Sophia Amaral.
Oh.
And so that's basically the end of this act is, she's like, we need to go see Sophia Amaral. And Jack's like, I have a date with Destiny. And she's like, Jack, don't. And it like just like pans, and Jack's basically at gunpoint with like 9 soldiers around him.
He's on his knees.
And so Jack went to the island and he meets with Paul. Like that, it's just like a smooth
about that,
like pan into the next scene basically, or like a slide or something. And that's the end of the act. Is they need Sophia Amaral. Nick and Beth are at the time machine. Jack left. He went to the island. Paul Serene and Monarch apprehend him, and we are at the next junction point, which is personal/business. And so there's the gala event where Jack Joyce is supposed to meet with Paul. Like Paul knew that was going to happen.
Yep.
And so what Paul now needs to do is like figure out, do I make my scheduled appearance at the gala, or do I put that on hold, put Martin Hatch in place of me, and go talk to Jack? Should I value my friendship with him, try to reason with him, Or should I say, fuck it, I need to put Monarch first, my plan needs to go first, and Hatch can interrogate Jack instead. What did you choose? Business or personal?
Oh, and this one I chose business, because this was the part where... This was when I started to... This was when I made the... Yeah, I have it written in my notes where I said...
No, you don't.
I spent probably I spent genuinely probably 5 to 10 minutes...
Thinking about this
debating... No, debating the first Junction. Because it makes it so clear that, like, while if you kill Amy, that's, like, the bad choice, things... See, it set it up as though things would then be easier for Jack after that.
That's...
But if you let Amy live, you then have to kind of hide and sneak around, and you don't have the access. So I had that debate where I was like... There's that moral dilemma you have of, like, inevitably maybe I'm doing the better thing at the expense of this girl's life, you know what I mean? Or she can live and then I have to struggle and maybe the greater good doesn't get achieved. I had that really hardcore debate in that first one, and then this one I was like, you know what? I was kind of like, is Jack going to die? If I choose business, like, because effectively it sets it up as, if you choose business, Serene just goes, hey, Martin, deal with this. And so far, Martin Hatch seems like a pretty hardcore fucking guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's you don't even see it to the next step. Like the episode right after this, Sophia Amaral is like, Hatch, Paul's out of control. We need to do something. And he's basically just like, how about you eat shit?
Yeah.
You little shit.
I think, like,
how about you are shit and you eat shit and I shit on you because I don't care about you at all.
Like, he's like, I rue the day when Paul gave you any modicum of functionality in business. And she's just like, and what's cool is because I played through both Junction decisions in that scene.
You left out the really cool part at the end.
What?
He says, like, Sophia says something about being intimidated, and he totally just, like, gets up into her face, and he's like 2 feet taller than her.
He's like 6'5".
And he's like, he's Gustavo Fring. He's Gustavo Fring from Breaking Bad.
Oh, and then he goes, kiss my piss.
He says, kiss my piss. Kiss my piss. No, he's like adjusting his shit, and he's looking her dead in her eyes, and he just says, like, do I look intimidated? And it was like, and I was just like, oh shit. It was like equal.
Do I look intimidated?
He's got a really deep voice.
He does.
Do I look intimidated?
He's got a very...
his little venom thing comes out of his mouth and
his forked tongue comes out. But no, if you chose the business approach, Martin inevitably just leaves the room in this one. Or no, if you choose the personal approach, Martin just inevitably leaves the room because Paul's busy talking to Jack. But if you choose the business approach, Paul comes in and interrupts the, like, confrontation between Paul and Sophia in the episode.
Oh, interesting.
Shit, really?
Like, Paul comes in, he's like, everything okay in here? And Martin's like, yeah, everything's fine. And Sophia's like, you know what I mean? And then they fucking leave.
He's like got like a pistol like so you chose personal.
I chose the personal, yeah, because I guess the Paul that I was painting the picture of in my head was like, this man believes that he's saving the human race. And for all intents and purposes, he is.
It is kind of, it's setting it up as though he believes that he is saving the human race, but it's like questionable because he doesn't want to listen to anyone else, really.
Yeah.
Right, but he's the only person in his mind who has seen where things head.
Precisely.
Yeah. And thinks that there's effectively nothing he can do.
And if you choose this, if you choose personal, you know, basically what happens is, and we'll discuss the episode, but in the middle of the episode of, episode 2 of the show, what will happen is, if you choose personal, Paul will go into the cell where Jack is being held, and very heartfelt, will tell him, like, look, I've been in your shoes. I've done everything, time and time again. Cannot stop the end of time. What I've seen is horrible, and, like, when you're ready to listen to me, I'll be here. But, like, just know that, like, I'm not doing this out of spite or anything or selfishness. Like, I have tried to save time. It cannot happen. This is the only way. Yeah. And he tries to be very, just straight up with him.
I like that at first too. Jack is kind of like, yeah, is that what's going on? Fart face? Is that what's going on? You fucking dickhead.
I'm sorry. Am I getting stabbed in the back?
You got a time stabber over here. Yeah, I made that choice, and I didn't realize at the time, but when you're choosing a junction point, you hold the left or right trigger to see, like, projections of what's going to happen. I didn't get it. It wasn't immediately clear to me that that's literally Paul looking into the future. Quite literally. Not like
I don't think it totally hit me the first time.
Yeah, because he's not thinking like.
I thought it was like a third person sort of like.
This would happen. Maybe
you know,
that would happen.
If I
he's
remember
literally seeing flashes of those realities.
At the first junction point, I only remember this because I just in the past couple of days have been playing through to make the different decisions. He says, and it's easy to miss because there's other chatter happening. He says as he walks up to that, he's like, despite the sickness increasing, he's like, I had gained enough control over my abilities that I could quite literally see how my decisions would affect the future. Yeah. So
That's interesting.
He makes like that statement as he goes up to make the, do I shoot this girl in the head or do I tell her I'll shoot her family in the head?
I remember at that point in the game, like when I was first starting, my just mouth was open. I was like, oh. It's like I wasn't retaining anything. I was just like, shoot, guy.
Kind of stupid thing.
Time stopping.
Totally like unrelated, but it's as you approach this second junction choice. There's like a few, always as Paul, there's like a few little notes or documents that you can find, you know what I mean? Like story pieces or whatever.
Usually, yeah.
Never like Chronon sources from what I've noticed, but there's always like a few little things of note.
Yeah.
If you go past Jack, like, and you go right, because you can see clearly that you can like get over to your car. There's like a car parked there, and he goes over and he makes some. I went over there as Paul because I was like, oh, I just kind of want to see if I can. And Martin kind of starts yelling at you, like, what the fuck are you, where are you going, man? Like, what are you doing? Or why are you walking over there?
Over here.
And he's like, just give me a minute. Just checking out the old car. And then he says something along the lines of, like, God, I remember going on road trips with Jack in a car. It was a lot less comfortable than this one. And then that's pretty much it, and he walks back.
I did not experience
I just thought that was like a funny, silly thing. Because I was like, oh, cool, I'm going to sneak over here and see what's going on.
Because the car was highlighted in time vision.
Yes.
Okay, so I missed this.
So I was like, oh.
I missed that entirely. That's cool.
So as you're...
I was using time vision fucking
constantly.
all the time.
Oh, yeah,
I missed this era of gaming, like I said many times. Like I just like, around 2017, 2018. 2018 is probably when I picked up on modern gaming.
You blacked out. You were kind of gone for
Yeah, but like 2012 or so to like, oh wow, even before that. A couple Wii games were like the last thing I played in like 2009 to like 2018. This like press Y to scan the environment and everything goes into like a negative and like
or like it's like sonar going
It was Eagle Vision.
That is like
in Assassin's Creed. First game.
I'm wondering like where that first comes from because it's like a vital thing in Quantum Break, apparently Assassin's Creed. It's in the Shadow of Mordor games. It's in the Arkham games. It's in
Army of Two.
It's in Army of Two.
Yeah.
I think I know.
It's a big part of the Tomb Raider reboots. What do you think?
So I have a lot of shit to say about everything that we're talking about right now. I'm going to try to keep it all in order. I doubt this is the first thing that ever did it, the scanning, but scanning things was very popular in Japan in the early 2000s. Did you guys have the scanners, little handheld LED game?
Yeah, this is where you go up and you scan barcodes and you find monsters in them.
And like
I had that.
Yeah,
sick.
I had those. I thought they were super cool. For some reason, it was gaining traction. So, for Metroid Prime on the Game Boy, or I'm sorry, on the GameCube, I think Shigeru Miyamoto, it was a suggestion of his. He said, "What if Samus's head was like a bug?" That was his very obscure like prompt to the team, and they're like, "What?" And then that led to them like somehow developing her different. She has different visors in that game to let you see like heat vision, evil vision.
I would say that's probably where it began. Was games like that, like Splinter Cell, where you're switching through the different visions.
There's that, but this is like a very specific thing where it's
here's your
the third person camera, like scans the whole environment. You know what I'm trying to say? Like that is similar because that's almost like 2 and Prey where you literally scan things and like get data from them. But that like it's like the same look where it's like everything negates. It flips the color. It's just like it's
that hunt game that we're playing too. To find clues.
It's just like it's become such a it's a thing that I did not ever see in games up until a certain point.
Definitely parallel experiences, but this is I'm thinking of the manually scanning objects.
My first memory of seeing that in a game.
It's totally Metroid Prime for me, but it's not quite the same. Assassin's Creed was the first game that I played that used
Eagle Vision.
And that would allow you to see hot spots, or I don't even remember.
I'm wondering, because also like games, it must have been like a post open world type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I'll look into that deeper because I'm curious. Because I just noticed, like when I started playing, I think Tomb Raider was the first game I played where I used that ability.
Yeah.
Like the Tomb Raider reboot.
Fuck.
And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. But also, like, I'm just like slamming that button constantly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is there a better way to convey information to a player than to have them just constantly like scanning the environment? And
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like it seems like, basically, that late 2010s to mid to late 2010s when it was like in like every fucking game. And now I don't see it in as many new games. I do see it sometimes still.
But like games like Dead Space, I feel like found a better way kind of to do that. You know what I mean? Where it's not as
Like the navigation.
It's not as invasive.
It's still kind of like spoon feeding it to you, but like you said, it's not as invasive. It's not as
At least as far as navigation.
Over-encompassing.
Yeah, you just like...
well, yeah, that'll tell you your objectives because then also like you can in the later games you can like toggle through left and right and it'll be like this is how you get to the workbench. This is where like this thing is.
That's right.
Where it's just they would give you the different colored lines.
Damn, I
that
forgot
were
about
just
that.
on the
And you don't do that in Control at all.
No.
Right? You don't have like a
There's
like
no
a
other
like a vision.
Just your map.
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
It's
Just interesting that like this. I'm assuming it was it was just trendy at the time to do this, and it made
Yeah.
sense with the abilities. But like, yeah, I don't know. I
didn't realize that you can cancel time vision without just like moving out of it. You can press B to cancel it. Did you guys realize?
I didn't realize that. I was always like, oh, I gotta move a little
Yeah,
bit.
I was probably in the last part, and I realized because you press Y to activate it and B to cancel. That was confusing to me.
I would have made it the same button.
I would have too, but I guess you could press Y. You
Hey
could
Remedy,
Can you patch that in?
You could,
you guys release an update right now?
their argument probably was you could be in time vision, standing in front of a Chronon source, and be able to then use it while still in time vision.
Well, I would have just mapped collecting Chronon sources to a different button
Another
then.
button to the C button.
To the jump button.
I have one more thing
To the
God
Z
damn it,
stick.
to say, Matt.
Fuck.
I saw that car with time vision. It was kind of under you to the right in a garage that you don't realize you're above when you start going down the stairs. And I remember seeing it. I didn't realize that I could interact with it at the time. I don't know why. And I didn't go past Jack to go interact with it. It's very interesting that you did. I assumed it was just a little wink as to some future events.
I thought it was just. I saw a few things like that. They're just emanating heat or light. Like sometimes, like I was like, oh, I gotta go check that thing out, and it's just like, just because it's all inverted and it's the negative.
where light's
It's
coming
just
out,
like it's like, oh, it's just a screen. It's not
This one was like it was distinct because it was like the entire car was a consistent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That
Interesting.
consistent glowing yellow.
And I think my animal brain at the time just thought that like that's Paul's car. He likes it. He's just like, oh, it's my car.
Well, anyway.
Like as all of us would feel.
Just creates more like a context for the relationship between Jack and Paul.
Totally.
You know what I
That's
mean?
very cool. There's I find that even though I've like gone really deep on a lot of Remedy games, there's a lot of dialogue I'll miss because it's just contextual dialogue that you will get if you trigger this thing or go here or if you stand here long enough or if you do this and then go back.
But yeah.
Like there was
Yeah.
one or two things that you mentioned collectibles you can only find after you started things with Paul.
Yes.
There's a few of those in the game where you need to talk to someone, go do a thing, and then if you talk to them again before leaving, there's a whole new thing.
I love that. Or if you like at the beginning, if you just stand next to Liam Burke for too long outside of the university,
Yeah.
he'll keep kind of going through like, can you fuck off, man? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the different like, are you really doing this to me right now? And you kind of go back and forth with them a couple of the times.
One of my least favorite
Or it's
things.
both of you kind of being tough guys. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're both trying to tough guy each other.
When you're in an exploration phase and you have multiple people around you, you can talk to them if you want to and get more things. You can talk to them a couple times. One of my least favorite things was doing that with Amy because I just never cared to hear what she had to say, but I wanted to make maybe there's something something she would drop on me that would be
Right.
interesting.
She has nothing of value.
So,
to say.
depending on your choice, you make your choice, and then you go into the second episode of the show. The episode opens up on Dr. Amaral giving Chronon treatments to Paul Serene. We mentioned it's like a oxygen mask, nebulizer thing.
Yeah.
And he looks fucked up.
Yeah, he's
all
not doing
sweaty
well.
and clammy.
Yeah, he looks disgusting.
So she's the one who developed those treatments. She's the head Chronon researcher.
Sophia.
And the idea is that it keeps his Chronon radiation poisoning from totally consuming his body.
And like corrupting his mind, it seems like too.
Mind and body, yeah.
His chrono
So-
boner. Keeps it restrained.
We then move to the gala party where Fiona Miller is continuing to flirt with Charlie
She's
Wincott.
trying to fuck.
That's what he thinks.
Yeah.
That's what she's trying to get him to think.
He's like,
she's
oh
getting
my
him all
God.
liquored up because he's like, I don't usually drink very much, and she's like, you're drinking tonight.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a hard time getting that thing. No.
Listen here, little homie, you're getting drunk.
And he's like, okay.
So they do get. So the drink they ordered were disgusting nips.
Yeah.
I think it's like a slippery nipple, but it's like a disgusting nipple.
No, that was a comment that was on one of our recent TikToks.
Ooh,
Yeah.
was the one where you didn't have your shirt on?
I don't want to admit it. They're called disgusting nips. Or was that a funny joke?
No, I was just making a joke about a gross drink. I was thinking of slippery nipple, sex on the beach. Yeah.
It's the sloppy toppy, the new
Dog.
special. Dog cum.
It was actually a dog cum teeny.
Oh, nice. Dog cum. I graduated dog cum loud.
That's also one of my favorite jokes from Mallrats is magna cum laude, class of '69, and I remember them going, "I hope to also cum loud one day, hopefully in a '69." It's a very fucking funny
When
joke.
he leaves his hand in his butt crack for
butt ass?
hours, and then dips it in the chocolate pretzels, and then the guy's licking off the chocolate.
I hate that.
He leaves his
I didn't like that scene, actually.
I really didn't like that scene.
Those are the scenes that I was like, maybe I didn't hold up.
Did you say he left his hand in his ass for hours?
That's the joke, yeah.
That's the joke. And then he shakes another guy's hand, who then eats the melted chocolate pretzels. He licks the chocolate off his fingers, and then gets
no.
violently ill.
So Liam Burke was eventually caught at the end of the previous episode. He was apprehended by Monarch.
Yes.
And so now both Burke and Joyce are in their own respective Monarch brand holding cells within the Monarch facility there on the island.
And Liam starts saying, I gotta shit. Oh!
They have like a quick moment where they're both in the back of the van together as
was
they're being
funny.
transported.
Yeah.
And like they both just kind of like look up at each other and they're like, yep.
Rough day for you too? So
Radio here.
again, and we talk so much about the humor in these Remedy games. Hilarious shit humor here. No, it's not that funny. But he basically just is like begging, Burke is begging the guard.
Who he like quickly recognizes, so he's like, I'm gonna call you by your first name to
Yeah.
make this personal too.
Yeah, he's like, Theodore, I really need to make poo-poo.
I need to make brown.
Pendleton.
I need to make brown.
So
Partridge.
he goes, look, I'll TT in here, but I won't poo-poo in here.
He's just like, I'm gonna shit. Oh, I'm gonna shit.
He has his asshole up to the little mail slot. He's like,
He basically he begs the guard to let him go take a shit. The guard's like, fine, and what he does, I believe he kicks a chair at him with such force.
from across the room.
You can do this in Sifu, the same move, and it's so fucking satisfying.
Chair launch?
Yeah, like if there's items on the ground, you can just like slide kick them upward into people's faces.
What the
It's
fuck?
basically the same exact move.
Jackie Chan Rush Hour move.
It looks so good. And so he wrestles him away. He gets out,
This
and
is
so
one of the things that informed my thinking that Liam Burke was more Max Payne than he was a real person.
In an Echo, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm just like, okay, that is some powerful moves.
yeah. Whereas when Max Payne was chained up, he just I think eventually fell out of a chair.
He just got hit with a bat like 13
Yeah.
times and then fell down.
But then he just got up and killed a guy.
Anyway,
It was all right.
so Fiona leads Charlie away from the party, and he thinks they're going out to the woods to bone or something. And then Burke shows up, and they're like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, that's right, Charlie. We're using you, bitch." There's
cock blocking
and
me.
so he starts. she starts to explain that there's this thing, the lifeboat protocol. They don't really know anything about it. They know there's something with the CFR. They don't really understand exactly what's going on, but they know they need to get into Dr. Kim's lab to find out more about this lifeboat thing.
And Liam is fucking pissed at Charlie right now. Because Charlie is the reason that he got arrested in the first place.
Yeah, Charlie narked on him. And so they use Charlie to get access into Dr. Kim's lab.
Jordan and I hate Charlie.
That's where they learn the fate of Dr. Kim, who basically, you learn this through documents and stuff over the course of the game, but Dr. Kim was, up there with Sophia as one of the heads of Chronon Research, and some sort of experiment went wrong. Martin Hatch was the only person present when it happened.
Yeah.
But he got somehow like some sort of super accelerated chronon, exposure, and it turned him into like a shifter.
Yeah, like kind of like an untethered being. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, yeah.
It's,
And-
this is
They show him in his little cell.
this is so cool.
Did you guys think that this looked exactly like Northmore in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
sarcophagus?
absolutely.
Exactly like it.
It was.
This was getting my boner so hard. This whole scene because Fiona also mentions that Kim was like her mentor, and like more ways than just occupationally. So like I finally started to like we're getting some pieces of the puzzle here, and like this is cool. And I'm like, yeah, this is the containment was very similar to Northmore. I think these shifting beings are like they are what the sub lore of this whole shit is. You know what I mean? Like that's the magic. You know what I mean? Am I making sense?
No, can you?
Like that's the more like magic element of the story.
Oh yeah.
In the sense where like those parts come from potentially something that was naturally occurring prior to.
Yes.
Yeah, we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You never see a shifter.
Untrue.
You do real quick. You see the one guy.
Yeah, but I guess I mean to
don't
say you
interact with
never interact with them like
Yeah.
you like they
I kept thinking I was gonna have to
the
blast
entire
some of these fools.
and as you get deeper into like chapter 5 or 6 or act 5 I guess I mean there's like more and more like increasingly strongly worded emails about like how dangerous the shifters are and how like there's shifters now because the time fractures has gotten so intense and the stutters are so frequent that the shifters are like breaking loose essentially somehow
Yeah.
and like crossing into our world and they're very dangerous and you see that some sort of shifter has just eviscerated guards all over the Monarch
Oh yeah.
labs and like I thought they were like planting the seed here by showing Kim and just being like this like fucked up shifter thing and then like you got like a glimpse of the monster there and then you just see the monster's carnage and then they just kind of like
Yeah, I thought it was
let
gonna
that
be- I
plot
thought
point
it
go
was
and
gonna
that
be-
you
I
never
thought the
see one.
shifter was going to be Kim.
I thought
That
you
was gonna
battle
fight,
him.
Yeah. and-
You never battle a shifter or even really like interact with one directly. I think you do
You bear witness to one.
watch
sort
him
of.
kill like five guards.
I don't know if you even really see it clearly
watch it.
though.
You do. Well, it's far
you see it because
it's
he's like it looks
far
it's like a
away.
man in like a black jacket. You can't like see him, but
He's
he's
also
like
floating really weirdly.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
and he's just like foo, 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 foo.
All right, yeah. It just like it all seemed like it was leading up to like that being like a
Yeah.
maybe a not like the final boss, but maybe like a one of your last.
super.
I thought it was going to be like another, either like a near final boss or like another new powerful enemy you had to occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just bummed.
Yeah.
Reminds me of the.
Because right around here before this, I think is when you encounter like the first like before or after this the
big guy?
the big like
Yeah.
armored guy. You know,
I think it's right after this. Yeah.
What's the where are the fucking death balls called in Control?
Astral spikes.
Yes, it reminded me of those guys a lot.
Totally.
And I know we're trying to stick roughly to where the story is, so we don't.
Well, I don't know.
at
We
this-
just skipped all the way to
I'm just saying that, like, you know, because
At the
this is where you
time-
see the shifter for the first time.
Yeah, and Jack does. In the story, we don't quite know what they are, but I think by the end we do get a better answer.
Yeah, but I got really blue balled with it, honestly.
Yeah.
In the sense
was
where like
excited,
I
yeah.
was really anticipating more to happen with that, or at least to learn more. Because even like you said, you learn more, but like really not much. Admittedly, because they don't really know what's going on either.
Yeah.
But I felt like they were really building towards something that went absolutely fucking nowhere,
Yeah.
which is not a usual thing that I've noticed in other Remedy games.
Yeah, it was very odd, and also I almost got the impression that like Hatch intentionally turned Kim into a shifter for some reason.
I have that in my notes where I right in this
have
moment
my theories.
it was not clear to me whether or not Hatch killed Kim or if Hatch just survived that because of another theory.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It just
there's
it just seems like Hatch wouldn't let things happen by chance or something.
And
I
as
don't
you
know.
learn and as you learn more about Kim and how curious he was getting into things and how he was kind of trying to do things that he wasn't, you know what I mean? Not that
yeah.
he wasn't like supposed to, but that he was like, I don't really have clearance for this, but I need to know more about it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I think it's clear that Hatch has and we'll get to this when we get to I think the next episode. Hatch was present, the only one present, so obviously his involvement with Kim becoming a shifter is unquestionable. But I think his motives, I have a suspicion on what they were based on, apart from that I saw in the episodes, and I don't know if that was one of the parts that maybe you guys didn't see, but have you guys seen or read The Langoliers?
No.
By Stephen King.
No, I've never read any Stephen King.
It's one of his like terrible classic movies, like ones you gotta watch. The Langoliers are pretty much the CG's so bad, but they're just the monsters that eat the past, essentially, to make it as cut and dry as possible.
Eat your memories.
Kind of like we exist in the present, and then the us that existed. The us that exists now are fine, but the us that existed 5 minutes ago are no longer here because the Langoliers ate that time. They're literally like these ugly ball monsters that eat all matter every second. That is what becoming the past is. And the story of the Langoliers is that these people get stuck in that world and they're trying to escape the Langoliers. I thought that's where we were going to go with this story. I thought the shifters were going to be responsible for managing, and they kind of are, time and making sure that everything is correct.
I don't know if they're in any way responsible for managing that.
But kind of well, I don't remember how much was disclosed at this point, so I'm trying not to get too ahead. They're attracted to anything that is incorrect in their world.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's in a way that they want to go and correct it. Yeah, but I think it's more of in an opportunistic way.
It almost seems like they're kind of like one-celled organisms that just kind of like just like go and don't. It's hard to tell how much like autonomy they have and how much they're just moving on like
instinct.
just instinct and
My theory
it's sorry.
Go ahead. No,
well, I was going to say except for Hatch, who basically, and we're not spoiling anything because if you're watching this, hopefully you played the game.
Yeah.
Hatch does basically reveal himself to be a shifter.
Yes.
But he, unlike Kim, like has controlled it.
Well, because it's the way that. Let's just get into it a little bit, because the way that it makes it seem is as though Hatch did have a period of an an unaware amount of time where he was in that state, where he was just absolutely, and then inevitably was able to harness that and take control of that power, or whatever, or control it. Control.
Yeah, but he doesn't say how, right?
It's very vague.
It's
on how.
over time.
It's also because he also mentions the thing that Andrew went to mention, that like he only had that amount of time because he found in a cave somewhere something that was similar to the it's basically
a naturally occurring time machine. Yeah,
which would imply that that's why I think that they're all just chronon affected individuals. You know what I mean? Where like inevitably that is what Paul Serene would become if not for his treatments. Maybe the eye drops are what's stopping, because we see Martin taking
the eye drops are it for sure. But what do they do?
They're never. It's never explained what they do, and it never.
They're just.
He almost seems as though he's taking them in secret sometimes. You know what I mean?
He is.
So I can't tell, and I might have just missed something. I can't tell if those are like something that Dr. Amaral produced as well, or if that's just something that Martin has, and that those eye drops are what allows him to continue to just see the present. You know what I mean?
Oh, very literally.
You very literally just see the present, because as we see later when Paul, or you might not have seen later, depending on the decisions you make, you know what I mean? But as Paul loses it, he just starts seeing like when you were in the Ground Zero. When you're in Ground Zero and there's just time happening all over, like everything that's happened in that room, regardless of what time period it is just happening right there.
Yeah.
That is what, if Paul doesn't take his treatments, that's what happens to him.
God.
Is he'll just be like in a room in Monarch, and suddenly he's seeing everything that's ever happened in that room in no order, and he can't control it.
That's brutal.
Which is what drives them to insanity.
That is kind of also like when you see Kim in the thing, like it looks like that's like a translation of that. Like that's what he is basically existing as, that and seeing that himself, and
I could be
this
wrong,
completely overtaken way.
I took the shifter's visual appearance to be representative of a zenith of all possible realities for that one individual.
I think that inevitably what happens is, I mean, I don't know, these are all theories, but inevitably what happens is it goes beyond just you seeing that, and you slowly descend into that state as well. You know what I mean? Like you...
Yeah, like you can't exist in one time because you're existing in all time.
Your physical state begins to like disintegrate, you know what I mean? Or like at least blend in.
Well,
returning to a quantum suicide, when he's holding the gun up, he's like,
it's a suicide.
he says like, he has a goofy voice. I don't remember if you guys remember it. He's like, in this reality, I do not die, but in another reality, I do.
What was that I just tripped over? Is that important?
Shut up. All right, yeah, we could get lost in this. 'Cause this is like, I think this is the discussion of the game after you've completed it. So we'll get more into it. But the last piece that I had,
this is the only fucking part of it I wanted to talk about.
yeah, no, I've been hyped. There was that in that document where Hatch reveals his true nature. Oh no, I'm sorry. It was in the episode. It was in the actual episode when he goes to Kim's lab. And something happens. Well, I guess we're really in spoiler territory, but why ruin it all?
We're not in spoiler territory because you've already played this game.
You've probably already have.
You can stay if you want to, but you probably shouldn't.
I get. Sometimes I watch.
I don't mind spoilers.
Yeah.
So I would watch this.
There's a lot of stuff that I like, but I don't want to play through. I'd rather just watch a video where people talk about it. Anyway, when Hatch peers into Kim's chamber, he looks at him like he's happy because he says something like, "I'll return you to the ever time," or whatever.
Yeah, he says he calls him like old friend or something.
Yeah.
He's like, don't worry.
It doesn't seem spiteful. It doesn't seem sinister. It seems like he legitimately believes that he's achieving, like doing something positive for his friend.
Right, it's if he's transcending him somehow.
And it's like, they touch on it in the, getting back to where we actually are in the discussion.
No.
Fiona touches on that. And it touches on that in the scene in the sense that like she starts to cry. You know what I mean? While she's sitting there and you see the images of him that are like just like the quick still images of him in there where his face is all like stretched. He
Yeah.
looks like he is in excruciating pain. You know
glad
what
you
I
said
mean?
that.
Or at least like suffering, you know what I mean, to some degree. Whether he's just being driven insane or whether he's literally in pain.
It is
you know
not.
what I
It
mean?
doesn't look like a positive experience.
No, it doesn't look like he's having a fun time.
So what happens? Huh?
One last thing, because you said it, I'm glad you did because I almost forgot. When they're looking at Dr. Kim, when Liam, Charlie, and Fiona are, it must be Liam. It's Liam or Charlie describes him as stretched. And I was like, that's such a fucking Remedy thing because that's what they use to describe Dr. Emil Hartman. Like even Hartman says to himself, "I'm stretched." So it's just it's another example that I picked up on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when it becomes like the big old...
Yeah.
So what happens there is that, well, before that actually, they're looking at the they're looking at Kim in the lab and be like, oh my god, they're starting to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
We cut to Jack Joyce, who's in the interrogation room in the sort of holding cell.
That was a great scene between him and Paul.
So we mentioned that already, how Paul tries to level them, and he's like, well, when you want to listen to me, I'll be here. So that's the end of that. But if you chose the other solution,
Where Hatch
Hatch interrogates him, and he's basically like, look, man, like, you know, Paul is doing what he thinks is right. I don't necessarily agree with him. You know, it's like...
He's fucking nuts.
He says that Paul still has some sort of hope for this world, and within hope there's a miscalculation. And you personally know how even a small miscalculation can be catastrophic. And he's like, you know, hopefully we can put Paul in check, and maybe you can help with that somehow. And he fucking hands him a key and a gun.
What? Really?
Yeah, Martin Hatch is pretty much just like, I mean, like, I'm not saying you should kill Paul Serene, but if Paul Serene wound up shot in the face at the gala
With a gun.
and he's like, and like puts the gun and key down, he's like, then I wouldn't be against it. It's pretty much like what he's doing.
It's also very funny that like everything is so high tech, but he gives him a very classic old-timey like skeleton key looking handcuffs
like
key.
jail cell.
I didn't
Yeah.
see this because I chose the other thing.
It's like a very old-timey metal key.
I used to have those for like the first house I lived in. All of our locks
Yeah.
were really those old like skeleton
that
keys
works.
style
That
thing.
seems to work for everything within.
Well,
Monarch?
it's just like
No, I'm
just to
saying
unlock
it.
his
I'm saying
handcuffs.
it's not like not that it is a skeleton key. I'm saying it's in the visual style of an old-timey iron skeleton key. That's the key for the handcuffs.
Did it not seem like it would be the key for the handcuffs?
It just seems like you would
he's just
have
saying it's
a.
funny.
It's
Yeah,
funny
but-
because
I got a thing. I'm funneling us somewhere.
okay.
It's what?
Well, am I supposed to answer you seriously then?
Yes.
Yes. It seems like it. Well, it obviously is the key to the handcuffs. It's just
unlocks
funny that it has an old-timey key when everything else is the most futuristic state-of-the-art technology.
Perhaps it is an object of power.
The key to unlock the
Mic drop!
handcuffs?
That makes no sense.
I would say no.
Could be.
It's just a key to unlock a
Could
pair
be.
of handcuffs.
Could be. You don't fucking
Quibi
know.
dibby.
You didn't.
Quibi dibby doo.
I love Quibi.
Quibi.
We'll be back in a Quibi. Check us out in Quibi. You can turn it vertical, horizontal, same shit.
And now we're bankrupt.
So,
Jeffrey Katzenberg was one of the guys that did that, so it's funny. I guess that wasn't on camera.
That wasn't on
we were
camera.
mentioning him earlier.
we weren't really. Only you were.
Yeah,
well,
yes, I don't
I'm
know.
part
You
of-
just bring him up
part
all
of-
the time
You
for
said
some
his
reason.
name,
Part of
and
us.
I don't know who that is.
Big Disney guy, Pixar, I don't remember.
Okay.
You brought him up a few times.
Big money guy. Big money.
Your heater is fucking
Salvia.
like melting my back.
I'm really warm.
I suggested turning it off earlier, and I think you declined.
I thought you guys
and then I didn't. Can I turn it off?
I thought you had turned it off. That's why I was like, man, I'm really warm right now.
Do what you must. So,
Window.
as he bends over, I'll continue the discussion here.
Just me
So,
and
what happens is Jack is like, well, all right, and he uncuffs himself, and we go back to Dr. Kim's lab, where Fiona, Charlie, and Liam are learning that the stutters in time are increasing, and that they're heading towards something called a zero state, which is when time stops.
Yeah.
They know about the lifeboat protocol, and they know that the CRF is at the core of this. They think the lifeboat is like a thing. They don't know what it is. But they know it's like the thing that could help figure out like solving this like zero state
They're really
issue.
kind of relying on like once we find this thing, then we'll know what to do.
Yeah, once they find the lifeboat. So
Would be a watershed.
suddenly there's a time stutter and Fiona gets caught in the time stutter. Monarch agents storm the lab, and Leon Kennedy shows up.
What?
Kind of similar guys. TBH. Except Liam is not that fucking huge.
Leon Kennedy's
I'm thinking
not
of Chris
that
Redfield. Shut
big.
up.
Leon Kennedy's like not a big.
Yeah, Liam Kennedy is a little twink. So Leon goes to grab the red herb, the green herb, and I'm sorry.
That's you got the. That's
Liam goes to grab the chronon harnesses, which are essentially HRAs.
Yes.
And I thought this was so
fucking
interesting.
cool.
Like,
yeah.
I was like, wow, they really. Their control really is sort of a take two on
You want to let that person out even hold?
no.
Then we got an R. Kelly
It is
scenario back
kind of a
there.
take two on a lot of the themes and imagery of
It does,
Quantum Break.
It helps to support the like fan theory that Monarch and the Federal Bureau of Control are somehow in cahoots to a degree. You know?
Yeah, there's very similar technology being used there.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning that they not only do they have the chronon harnesses, or the stutter-proof harnesses, but they stutter-proof rooms as well.
Yes,
Because
which
the lab that Liam and what the fuck is his name? Charlie. I hate him so much I can't remember his name.
Charlie
Liam and Charlie.
Wincott.
Charlie Wincott.
It is, yes.
They're both in the lab, and like Fiona's like half out the lab, like frozen.
Oh, she gets frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also in Control, they do have those rooms that are hiss-proof.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have the hiss-proof rooms.
Little safety rooms. Anyway, so Liam gives one of the harnesses to Charlie, and he's like shooting back the agents, and he's like, we gotta go. And Charlie just grabs the other harness and jets and abandons him.
He boofs it.
What a little asshole. Then
absolute prick.
the stutter ends. Liam grabs Fiona. They get the fuck out of there, and that's where the episode ends.
This is a really funny moment where it's like, it's clear that being in a stutter kind of fucks you up and fucks with you, especially if like, because even if you don't
that's a
have
good point.
even if you don't have like the concept that you've just stopped in time, if you were running and then suddenly Liam's like here and he's like, come on, you're like, what the fuck? She has that moment where she's like, ah, and then she starts to run and she starts to go the wrong way, and I couldn't tell if it was scripted, but Liam or the actor goes, no, this way, other way. Like as they're running down the hall, because you can go right or left, and she kind of starts to go the one direction. She's like, "Wrong way, this way."
Oh, that's
and she like turns with.
Maybe that was just a goof or just whatever scene, but yeah, that could inform because they pontificate
Either
later
it's-
in
yeah.
the game on.
I took it as her being disoriented.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was like,
but-
either it's really good writing in that she is just disoriented, you know what I mean, or
no, but
it's just a
that
funny
could
little-
inform the discussion on. I think it's Paul and one of his journals or something that you find later on. He talks about how like if we are able to stop the end of time after it began, you know what I mean? Like if it happens and we are able to rectify it later on, we don't know what the ramifications, if any, would be on anybody that had stayed in that stasis for however perceived amount of time it took
Oh yeah.
to correct it.
Right.
So it's like would all of that time that they've been in stasis or in
Like what happens to their cells? You know, like
do they stay
Do
perfectly?
they cells still degrade? And do they
Yeah.
still...
Which is an interesting conversation. Obviously, there's no answer, but that's when you said that, that's what I thought of. Like maybe that could.
There's a lot
be
of
an
cool
indication
theories that are brought up in this. And
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah,
questions.
and you know, I'll mention this just because we said Zero State. Quantum Break Zero State, the novel,
right.
was written by Cam Rogers, who is someone who was an early writer and someone who worked on Quantum Break, for the first couple years of production.
Okay.
Then he left to go do other stuff,
Oh,
but they brought him in to do the novel, and so it's not a novelization of Quantum Break. There is the Alan Wake novel, which is pretty much a straight up novelization. Like they do kind of like give a little bit more time to certain characters. My throat just like totally closed up.
And then his was
I
fucking...
need. I was holding mine, so I took the opportunity.
Matt's gonna love editing that later.
Yeah, it's always really great how even in the most casual conversations, you find a way to blow out the mics.
When I shot that short that I posted today, when I held up the control book, it like reflected my voice and it just like blew the fuck out of my lav mic, and I had to crank it down like 10 dB, clip the hell out of it. I can't believe how that shit works.
It's interesting, but
Sound.
the Alan Wake novel doesn't provide any new revelations. It's not considered canon. It's just like it's like a novelization of a video game. I'm sure you guys have, as fucking losers, at least flipped through one of those, if not read one.
So
Don't know what you mean, Matt.
But it's sometimes like, okay, cool, it's the same story, except sometimes like the dialogue or someone's inner monologue might be expanded on in some way. There's more descriptive language.
Same story,
But Quantum Break Zero State is not the same story. It's like, okay, here's the story of Quantum Break. What if, people made different choices and it went this way instead? And so it's like it explores it explores a lot what we're talking about. And it's like, well, how about this? Or what if it went this way? Or how does this look? That novel does explore a lot of those things, and you can get it for like $2. I think it's worth checking out if you're a big fan. It's a rare case of a novel that looks to take, the medium of the novel and make a companion, like supplemental piece, like to the original work, instead of just like, well, here's the T-shirt. You have the coasters, the keychain, the novelization. It's all just, a lot of times the novelizations are just fucking bullshit. They don't need to exist.
Yeah. I remember my brother is a big reader, and he was a big comic book fan as well. So he had read all the Spider-Man comics.
Loser.
Yeah, total nerd. So when the first Spider-Man movies came out, he watched them. And, we liked them; they're all right. And then he read the novelization of the movie, and he was like, "This sucks." He's like,
Yeah, they're usually like just contract work just to get just to get the book out there. But Remedy was kind of aware that like these can often suck. Not that the Alan Wake novel sucks, but it's just it's pointless.
It was an exception.
Yeah, it seems like
you can pick one or the other one to experience.
Yeah,
the book
it
or the
seems like
game.
it's better if what it does is expands on the universe. You know what I mean? It tells the story within the universe, but not expanding on what literally happened within the game.
Yeah,
Right.
Like if
Because
you
it feels
if
redundant.
if
Totally.
if you're a big gamer like us and you're playing your little game and the story is compelling to like your friend or significant other who's not a gamer, but they still are compelled by the story, instead of just like
Break up with them. Leave them.
fucking loser,
Don't
right?
cut them out of your life.
Or buy them the Alan Wake book. That could be cool.
Nope, cut them out of your life.
Yeah, maybe. Or just go online and watch the compilation of the cutscenes.
I'm too busy watching other compilations.
All right. Well, anyway, we got plenty more compilations to talk about. Do you have any final thoughts on this act of this episode as we wrap things up here today?
I feel like this was like this is really when you kind of start to get the idea of like the breadth of what's happening.
Totally.
And it's like everything kind of starts. It's like, because at first you really are just kind of like, you killed my brother,
rising
you
up.
dirty rat. You know what I mean? And you're just pissed, and now you're like, oh fuck, it's bigger than my brother. My brother kind of created all this, but it's bigger than.
Yeah, it's similar to when you start to discover the inner circle and Acer and stuff in Max Payne. It's like, oh, this isn't just about me getting
About
revenge.
the same timeline too, as far as like gameplay goes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think we talked about Charlie a little bit in the previous part, but he's another interesting character, similar to Amy, where I don't like him, and I think that's the intent. I don't think anybody except for guys that are just like him, probably don't like him.
The actor, I think, does a very good job, and I think he's very well written because you're not supposed to like him. You're definitely not supposed to like him. You know what I mean? Like, you're maybe supposed to be a little bit empathetic, as in, like, he's like, oh, this guy seems like he always gets the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
Whether it's not getting laid or not getting laid. You know what I mean? Like, but...
Or not getting laid.
Or not getting laid.
Yeah.
But his character is very relatable to me because I feel like I feel like part of the reason I
you're a fucking pussy.
Yeah. Part of the reason I dislike him and the video. Part of the reason that'd be a much funnier end than whatever how we're gonna end it. Fucking pussy.
Fade to black.
Check out our other videos. I see some of myself in Charlie, and I think that's why I hate him. Because I feel like he's like, if I had gone like full gamer incel, dweeb, like lols, like
You still
rar.
spend as much time on 4chan now as you did when you were 14.
Yeah, because he is very much like down. Like, oh man, it's always raining on me. But like, haha, losers, I'm the only cool guy. When he really doesn't feel that.
Yeah,
So
he shits on people a lot. Unnecessarily.
It's projecting
It's
his
like
own
that's a defense
security.
mechanism. It
Yeah.
seems, you know,
Yeah, and that's like, oh my god, super been there. Jordan in my past has.
I've been there too. I think
there too?
I think every. I don't mean to. I think every teenage boy goes through at least like
Is that
6 months
very-
of this. You know what I
yeah.
mean, or 3 months of this,
Probably a couple years,
or at
for
least
me,
a
but yeah.
moment where they have like the like, man, everything's going, or just teenager. It might not have to be boys, but like everything's going wrong for me. But like it's your fault the things are going wrong.
Yeah.
Because you're like haven't figured out how to be a person yet. You know
Precisely.
what I mean? And he's just never grown out of that.
And he like cares so much about like getting laid when like in reality, like calm the fuck down. Like, you know what I mean?
I don't know if he cares about getting laid.
No, it seems
We're saying that, but like really, he's not horny. He's just power tripping. He likes lauding things over people.
even with Fiona, it never seems like she's the one who's coming on to him. Like she's clearly manipulating him, but even he every time is kind of like
He's wary.
I don't.
Wary.
You're being weird. You
Yeah,
know
and
what I mean? Like,
he's uncomfortable.
And
Yes.
I guess
He's not like, yes, I'm gonna get my thing wet.
and I find it interesting that when Liam shows up and you know the curtain falls and Charlie becomes aware that Fiona he was right. She was just manipulating him. You feel a little bit of like
you do see his face kind of drop. He's
and
like,
you're just like, you know what,
and he's like, yeah, I'll take you to the fucking.
maybe that would have made him a better person, getting attention from a cool person.
Maybe if
But
she just.
if she out, I'm not saying that. Take one for the team, Fiona. No, don't do that. Never, or in real life, never do that. But that's
saying problematic things.
yeah, like, goddamn, I'm trying to do damage control. We're doing role reversal today on this episode. But Charlie Wincott. That's all I got to say about him.
Well, Charlie bit my finger, and
I got the
That
NFT.
really hurt.
all right.
They made it an NFT. They took it off of
I
YouTube.
fucking don't. Care.
If you watched this, if you watched this and didn't watch the first episode,
What's wrong
I don't
with
know what
you?
you're doing.
yeah, you're
You
a
must
fucking
be so
idiot.
goddamn confused.
So be sure to catch that one, and there'll be 3 more of these some bitches before we're done.
It's gonna be another 12 hours.
Yeah.
Strap in.
All right, bye.